FY22 budget. Francis?
FY22 budget amendments, starting with F1A.
Is there a motion to approve F1D through F1I?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Under item G, bids, RFPs, RFQs, G1 is authorization of recommendations. G1A regarding bid 22-004, aggregate surface treatment for delivery and pickup.
All right, what's your pleasure on items G1A?
Motion to approve the purchasing director's recommendations on the bids.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, item G1B regarding bid 22-005, asphalt emulsions for delivery and pickup.
Not what's your pleasure, court?
Move to approve the recommendation of the purchasing director.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. I'd like to go to item L1. We have Shane Turner and Fiona Bond here. It's regarding the U.S. Department of Treasury Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund American Rescue Plan Act, discussion or action regarding the eligible expenses and our funding guidelines, reporting requirements, and funding request.
So I'm Fiona Bond, Executive Director of Creative Waco, and of course this is Shane Turner, owner and operator of the Hippodrome.
All right, so we will recess until 1 o'clock tomorrow. So it's 11. All right, good morning. Let's call court to order. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, February 25th, 2022 at 3:10 p.m.
Thank you. And if anyone has a public comment, they can come forward now from the audience. Yes, sir.
My name is Shannon Caraway. I'm Vice President for Business Development for a company called Solar Prime. Currently, we're trying to develop another 300 megawatt solar farm and 300 megawatt battery energy storage project here in McLennan County. And it's out north of Trading House Creek Reservoir, that area there. We're preparing to submit a proposal to this body soon for a county tax abatement for the project, and just wanted to stop by ahead of time, introduce ourselves, and tell you what we're doing.
Going to D on proclamations, resolutions. We have nothing this week. Under E, under consent agenda, I have no recommended pulls. Does anyone else have a pull from the consent agenda they want to discuss? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, Dustin.
Yes, sir. Judge, if we could go to item N1, this is discussion and or action on matters regarding COVID-19.
These case numbers have decreased for the hospitals.
All right, Judge, do you want to accept that for recording purposes?
Yes. Is there a motion to accept that report?
Recording in progress.
Good job, Steve Hernandez in. He's right there. To see if it was him or technical problems causing our cadence of our pledges to be off. So today's the truth. All right, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September the 20th, 2022. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please. We call the meeting to order.
The agenda was posted on Thursday, September 15th, 2022 at 4:40 p.m.
Thank you. All right, let's stand briefly for a moment of silence, and then we'll have a pledge to the flags.
Please join the pledge. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Good job, Steve. Thank you. Better. At this time, if any members of the public want to come to the report on business matters, please do so at this time. All right, seeing none, go to proclamations and resolutions. The first one is proclamation recognizing September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And so all those folks that are here for that, if you'd like to come forward, and we will, Dustin will read the pledge, and then I will hand the document over to you. So, Dustin.
All right, good morning. This is a proclamation of the McLennan County Commissioners Court recognizing September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Whereas National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month is dedicated to reducing the stigma surrounding suicide and increasing awareness about suicide prevention and warning signs. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. Suicidal thoughts, although common, should not be considered normal and often indicate more serious issues. And whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14 and the third leading cause of death among people aged 15 to 24 in the U.S. In 2019, over 47,500 Americans died by suicide. In 2018, Texas experienced almost 3,900 suicide deaths. And whereas suicide affects everyone, when there is a death by suicide, it has a ripple effect throughout our county. Suicide can be prevented if people are willing to ask the question, seek support and services, and know when and how to refer for additional help. And whereas suicide prevention is everyone's business, the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network is leading the effort in McLennan County and our region to prevent suicides through its Zero Suicide Initiative and through the agency's Zero Suicide Initiative work group. The work group's purpose is to have a workforce competent in the recognition of and provision of suicide-safe care in line with national best practices to promote life. And therefore be it proclaimed that the McLennan County Commissioners Court recognizes September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Each person has an important role to play in supporting our community members who are having suicidal thoughts. Learn the warning signs of emotional distress and suicide. Let us collectively ensure that all children and adults experiencing mental health challenges are treated with the compassion, respect, and get the help they need. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988 immediately. Be it further proclaimed, a copy of this proclamation be made a permanent part of the minutes of the Commissioners Court. Witness our hand and seal this 20th day of September 2022. Judge.
Okay, thank you. If y'all would introduce yourself to the court.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vince Erickson. I am the Division Director for Community and Governmental Relations, also the Public Information Officer for the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network.
And I'm Elizabeth Timmons, and I'm the Director of Clinical Services at the Heart of Texas Counseling Center at the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network.
Thank you. Would y'all like to address the group here or the court on any other comments you might have?
Ms. Bethy, do you have anything?
The only thing that I would say is that we need to be willing to ask the question about suicide. And so if you know somebody who's struggling, to not avoid the question, but to ask the question, are you feeling suicidal? Do you have plans to kill yourself? I think if we can start talking about suicide like we do peanut butter and jelly, then we will reduce the stigma and bring the possibility of people talking about it more out into the open.
Okay. Well, we all, almost everyone has had at least some friend or family member that has had this tragedy happen, and it is important, and I'm really proud to see that our county is addressing how to approach this, how to identify, how to make a call on it. And so thank you very much, and I'd like to present this to all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you. Okay, next, we have a proclamation recognizing the 150th church anniversary of the Pleasant Grove Baptist Church of Golson. So, Commissioner Miller?
Good morning. And if the court doesn't mind, I'd like to take both D2 and D3 together.
Okay.
No one's going to be here to receive either one of these. D2 is a proclamation recognizing the 150th church anniversary of the Pleasant Grove Baptist Church in Golson, Texas. And D3 is a proclamation honoring and recognizing Pastor Carlton D. Stimson and Joyce Stimson in the Open Door Church of God in Christ on their 30th church anniversary, and both of these will be given, well, D3 has been presented, and D2 will be presented this Sunday at those events. And so, again, I'd just like to thank the court for always allowing us to preserve some of our local history in the form of a proclamation. And if there are no questions, I would make a motion that we would accept D1, D2, and D3 by acclamation.
Yes, that'd be good.
Second.
All right, have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Thank you. And y'all are welcome to stay, or if you want to leave, you can. It's up to you. All right, let's go now to the consent agenda. I've got recommended pulls of HR matter under E3A, HR matter for IT director, H3B, HR matter for juvenile, and E6D, the auditor's report. Are there any other suggested pulls? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of those previously mentioned?
So moved. Second.
Pulls? With motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Okay, Dustin?
All right, Judge, if we could go to item M4 regarding the McLennan County Local Provider Participation Fund, the LPPF. We have a public hearing and then discussion or action on setting the mandatory payment rate after that. So M4A item is a public hearing to consider creation of the McLennan County Local Provider Participation Fund program in accordance with section 294.101 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, including setting the mandatory payment rate to be assessed on all non-public hospitals located within McLennan County to fund the LPPF during the fiscal year 2023. I'd like to call on Heather Travers, and I believe we have representatives from AHCV and then also from Baylor Scott and White present.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. As you'll recall, in 2013, Texas hospitals and cities and counties across the state have legislative approval to create local provider participation funds for the purpose of generating a source of the non-federal share of supplemental Medicaid payments. And through an LPPF, local governments impose an assessment not to exceed 6% on the patient revenue of hospitals at a particular jurisdiction. LPPFs are created with specific legislative authority to allow the local jurisdiction to tailor LPPF requirements and authorize uses to the needs of their community. And for McLennan County, our LPPF was established in 2015 under House Bill 2809, the 84th Texas Legislature, Chapter 294. I've also included just a little brief illustration. Dustin, do you happen to have that I emailed this morning? I know there has been some questions in the past about the flow of funds, so I thought it'd be helpful to have a illustration before we ask Justin to come up and speak from AHCB.
Give me 1 second, Heather, and let me find it. Is it the map or the funds flow process?
Funds flow process.
All right, give me 1 second.
So I know Commissioner Miller, we've talked some about the flow of how the funds, and so they're not generated necessarily from McLennan County taxpayer funds, or they actually come from the hospitals themselves. And then we're the middleman, we're the government entity that actually holds the LPPF account. And then those funds are transferred through that account to the Texas Comptroller, where then they're matched and then sent back to the local participating hospitals. Okay. You don't have any questions at this time? I can ask Justin to come up and speak.
I like that.
How much are the hospitals getting back from what they paid in?
That'd be a good Justin question.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Justin from AHCV, here representing the private hospitals in Baylor Scott and White and Ascension. Currently, with the 6% rate that's being requested, the hospitals would be assessed currently around $33 million, which is would then turn around, like Heather alluded to, and be matched by federal dollars. Currently, with the FMAP, which is a federal matching assistance policy, those dollars are the 33 million would turn around to be close to 100 million for the hospitals.
And then just a technical clarification.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Melanie McCammon at AHCV. I work with Justin. So the funds are sent to the state, they're matched by federal dollars, and then the state distributes them to eligible hospitals. So not every hospital that pays mandatory payment receives money back from this program. It's just the hospitals that are eligible because they have costs related to treating Medicaid patients and other uncompensated care. And so it's not, the funds don't directly necessarily all flow back into this county, but they are used by the state for this program for eligible hospitals.
So an example would be like our Baylor Scott and White hospitals. Just because McLennan sent X number of dollars, those do not necessarily mean that the Hillcrest facility here in McLennan received matching funds back.
Right, it's not matching to that. It's so that it's funds that go into the state, and then it gets matched by the feds, and then the eligible hospitals then get funds. And I think we have somebody from one of the hospitals that would speak to that.
Because kind of curious what that looks like for McLennan County. We know it goes out. What do we see that comes back in?
But you're saying 33 million goes out from the hospitals into this fund, but in return, McLennan County hospitals get almost 100 million back?
No.
No.
So is it yeah, so what are we getting back?
It's like a need base. I mean, it's a formula. There's haircuts. There's all kinds of complicated. It is. Yeah, and so the AHCV back in 2014, 13 timeframe found this in the code in the federal code that we could do this, and so we went and we lobbied our legislature so we set this up so we could get the money, and if we had not set that up, the money that we paid out would go to other places, and there were other places that were taking advantage of our money that we were paying in. Is the best way to think of it.
So if McLennan County hadn't deposited money into the LPPF and didn't have this funding mechanism that is the LPPF, those dollars, like you mentioned, would go to various other places across the state. And so because the LPPF, like we mentioned, is the funding mechanism by which the McLennan County hospitals can draw down funds, those funds, like you mentioned, would go elsewhere.
Based on eligibility, here locally, how does it look for our hospitals in regards to the funds we do receive out of this? How are we faring? How are our local hospitals faring receiving these funds?
There is a rate of return, like we mentioned, with regards to what that FMAP that I mentioned earlier. So for every dollar that's paid in, those hospitals receive $3. But with regards to McLennan County, we'd have to do a little bit more analysis with regards to how much is being brought in. But I would say that a majority of the dollars are brought back into McLennan County, and Melanie might be able to speak a little bit more to that.
So I think historically, more money has come into the hospitals in McLennan County than has left the hospitals.
Well, that's what you
I
want
think
to
is
know.
the best way to say
Yeah,
it.
that's the good part.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
advantageous for us to have this program.
Right.
It wouldn't make a lot of sense if you were sending more dollars out and getting less dollars in.
Right.
Does it make any difference if if that area is in a hospital district or not? Like we're not, our hospitals aren't in a hospital district.
I think that typically, I remember this being something that got brought up in last Commissioner's Court when we were here in April, that McLennan County is the largest county without a hospital district, but I think that with McLennan County being able to be that entity that drives the LPPF, regardless, those dollars would be utilized, and that's, I think, the biggest.
But I think your question is, would we be ineligible for LPPF if we had a hospital district? Is that?
Well, so how is a hospital district treated differently than like we are?
Well, so, and it's my understanding that it's because we take a hold of this money from the federal government, from the hospitals, then that is considered a tax. This is a tax on the hospital, and so it'd be, instead of taxing the hospitals, I guess we would tax the citizens with a hospital district. Is that?
No.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly where your question is coming from, and you know what difference you're looking to explore. But I think it's not relevant to the discussion whether there's a hospital district or not, because this program operates independently of that.
And we're just a clearinghouse. The county is just a clearinghouse. It's not ad valorem tax money going in it. It's money from the hospitals, and we're the part that transfers the funds in.
Maybe, I think
That's
what you're trying
correct,
to get
and
at
we
is in
also
a
have
hospital
our
district,
own-
is it discounted? Because they have a revenue source, does the LPPF discount that to where they don't get an overwhelming majority of the money between their tax revenue and the funds that they get back from the?
So there are hospital districts that also run LPPFs as well, and it works in a very similar way for them. And then in addition, a hospital district has other ways of raising funds that they might use for different purposes. I think to go back to your question, it's true that it's not local taxpayer money that's going into this fund or that is funding this program. It is the mandatory payments from the hospital. So all of the non-public hospitals in the county, and then that's the money that is being used to support the program, and then those hospitals that are eligible to receive payments through the supplemental payment programs then receive money back.
Okay.
As long as it's advantageous to us, I'm for it.
It's very advantageous.
It's been a good program.
Very,
Yeah.
very, that's the word I like.
It's been beneficial.
Okay.
Are we seeing an increase or a decrease in our uncompensated care that our hospitals are having to deal with?
I would say that over the past couple of years, it's been a really interesting thing to look at, just due to the fact of COVID and things of that nature. And so there definitely is an increase of individuals who are seeking care. And so, but I would say that typically McLennan County has a good sized population that's seeking care that are either Medicaid recipient or are uninsured.
Okay.
And would it be too much to ask? I still would be interested because basically it's 3-1. You're saying 30 million turns into 100 million, but we know that's not 3-1 that comes back. Is it 2 to 1? Is there any way that we could see that? I'd like to know what the figure is, just.
Is there anybody on from the hospitals?
Hi, I'm Whitney Wild. I'm a Director of Government Finance at Baylor Scott and White Health. I'm actually here to support the new rate and just thank you for your continued support of the OPPF and any questions I can answer.
Do you have a figure that comes back?
Well, and like they were speaking of, it's with the different funding from the state each year, it's obviously going to be different. And then the qualifications from each facility, that's how it's pulled in based on your uncompensated care. So we're going to pay in this amount, but we're not going to get that, as we mentioned, not going to get that full amount. I don't have a perfect number for you right now, but we can definitely research it.
And it's just out of curiosity. I think it's a wonderful program, but
Yes, it's been very important to
when
all
we're
of us.
doing this, I'd kind of like to know what the return is to our local hospitals.
Yes, well, I will tell you, it's been very important in the community and for all of our facilities. We really need this LPPF and really appreciate everything it's done for us.
And so we are receiving more than we're paying in.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions for this group, I will open the hearing. And any comment that needs to be made pertaining to this can be made at that point in time. So the hearing is now open. So, Randy, did you want to speak to this during the hearing?
Randy Riggs, tax assessor collector for the citizens of McClellan County. Honored to serve y'all. Just here to, no, I don't need to sit. I'm not going to talk. Here to offer as a resource to you all as the court. We're the ones that do collect the money, work with the hospitals, and we don't see what comes back, but we do know what goes out. And we're just the collector, the interpreter of the law, if you will, and we support the work that they're doing.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
So I have a quick question for Dustin, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Dustin, aren't our expenses also paid for, in our administration of this paid for through the funds?
Yes, sir, that's correct. We can keep, and Randy can correct me, I think it's $20,000 that we keep through it. So yes, sir.
That is correct.
Anything else? If not, the hearing is closed. At this time, what's the pleasure of the court?
Make a motion to approve setting the rate at 6%.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And Judge, while we have Heather there, we can go ahead. M4C is authorization of intergovernmental transfer of funds derived from the County Healthcare Provider Participation Fund mandatory payments. This is an IGT under the Healthcare Transformation and Quality Improvement Program waiver.
Okay.
And this is for the uncompensated care demonstration year 11. We're requesting to IGT up to the amount in the LPPF on the day of transfer with a settlement date of September 29th.
Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
All right, and I believe Chris Collins is on via Zoom. So we have under M3, Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. M3A is monthly economic development report for July of 2022. And then M3B is the report for August 2022.
Good morning. What I have before you is our July report. I will share my screen with you right now. Maybe. Too many windows open. Here we go.
Thank you.
All right. So here's our July report. When we look at the level of activity that we've had over the last several months and compare it to where we were this same time last year, our attraction inquiries are up. Our proposals going out the door are pretty even with where we were in 2021. Attraction visits down a little bit in comparison, but again, very, very strong activity when it comes to companies coming into the community. Our business retention visits are up as well. Our business development initiatives, we're going into the fall now, so we'll see a lot more activity related to that. In fact, we have a staff member traveling this week. I'll be traveling next week. And then October will be, and September will be very busy for us as well. So when we look at what's in the pipeline for us, I want to move into this activity level here. So there's a snapshot of the 15 most active projects that we have in our work portfolio right now. 4 of those are expansions, 11 are new attractions, and 5 of those represent international businesses. The target industry sectors that are most active for us right now are manufacturing, logistics, and aerospace. And collectively, these represent 1,600 retained jobs in our community by the existing businesses. New job creation is nearly 2,100 individuals. This represents $2.4 billion worth of new investment and 3.1 million square feet of new construction. And so I always like to give you all a little bit more on top of that. So what else is happening for us? What are some good news for us? So the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out a report on a monthly basis about job creation, and we will look at the job creation between June of 2021 and June of 2022. We were the second highest percentage of job creation in the state of Texas, just behind Dallas-Fort Worth. And then we were the number 7th highest percentage increase in job creation in the United States for our MSA. So that was all really good news for us. We feel it as well, the level of activity that we see here, but we also know that we're seeing good labor force participation and labor force growth in our market too. So I'll stop my share there. When we look at what's happened in August, the level of activity continues to be very strong, and I'll pull that report for you. But what we want to make sure of is that with the changes that have been happening at the Fed, how is that going to impact our community? And so what we've seen through our economic index report is a slight change, just a 0.1 or a 1/10% of a decline. So we're watching that very closely to see if there's anything else that we need to be aware of. When we look at our August activity, I'll share that now. You can see that that the level of attraction inquiries hasn't slowed down for us. If anything, it's increased. The number of proposals going out the door is above where we were last year. Visits on attraction visits still strong for us, and our pipeline remains really strong. I mentioned before about our economic index report, and this gives you the snapshot, and I apologize, it's your eye test for the day, but we're still seeing good activity related to sales tax spending. We're seeing strong numbers in building permits. We're seeing our unemployment numbers continue to go down, but we're also seeing that our labor force number is well above where it was last year. So if you look at the number of people that are in the labor force, we were at 124,500 in July of 2021. And in July of 2022, we're at 130,900 individuals. So that's a very significant and strong growth for us. Overall, the index remains strong. So we're waiting for the September report or the August report to come out for in September, and then we'll continue to track that. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the court may have about our activity levels.
Any questions? I don't believe.
Good report.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Okay, anything else, Chris?
No, sir, not right now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and is there a motion to approve the report for recording purposes?
Smooth.
Well, I'll second. Motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
And so, Judge, that was M3A, and then we'll need to defer M3B, correct?
All right, to make a motion to defer M3B.
Second.
A motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
And moving on to item M5, authorization of letter of approval for American Medical Response Ambulance Service regarding Texas Department of State Health Services licensing of emergency medical services in McLennan County. AMR is requesting the county issue a letter of approval. They currently operate under the Dishes license through Temple, and they are wanting to move that to their license in Waco, and no service or operations will change. Elizabeth is on the line. We were trying to get a representative from AMR on in case there were any questions. So just wanted to bring this to the court now, and if there are questions, we can try to line up a representative, or if not, we can move forward.
Is there any reason we shouldn't do this?
Judge Mike and I both looked at it. It seems reasonable. It meets under the code, and it's just evidently a change they're requesting to move from that Temple license to one in Waco.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, we can move back up to the top of the agenda. I know Francis had a county auditor monthly financial report. Francis, do you want to do that now, or do you want to? Sorry, I guess we'll go back to the start of the consent agenda. E3A's information technology. We can hold this item until later in the meeting if that's okay.
Yes.
E3B's juvenile detention, and on, I believe this needs to be pulled with no action. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So Judge will need to pull E3B with no action.
All right, pull E3B with no action.
And then that drops down to E6D, County Auditor recording a monthly financial report, October 2021 to August 22. Francis, did you want to do that now or move into the budget amendments?
I am good to do it now if y'all are.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where are we?
It would be item E6B.
B?
D.
D?
D, yeah.
Oh, okay.
E6D.
Okay, so in your packet, you will have a monthly report for the end of August. So that'll give you a lot of information as to budget to actuals through the end of August, fund balances. There's a lot of I know there's a lot of information there, but sorry, one second. Is it gonna let me? Okay. But I just wanted to touch on some highlights as we usually do, and focus on general fund and our venue project funds specifically today. So just starting, I wanted to look at the group of funds that, you know, we look at through the budget process in the summer. So these are funds that go through that formal budget process. They make up the majority of our operating expenditures. So you'll see in the first, you know, the top section of the table, that is going to walk forward each fund balance through the end of August for our general fund, our debt service fund, permanent improvement, and special revenue. And then following, you'll see that we've walked that fund balance forward to the end of September as well. So, you know, we are getting close to September 30th. There's still a lot to come. You know, we accrue back for 60 days past year end, but we have a really good glimpse at this point in time of where we are going to end. So on the general fund side there, that first column, you'll see we're estimating to end this year at right over 67 million. And that number should look familiar. We focused on that a lot this summer. And so that is where we plan to end. Debt service,
those debt service it's very easy to predict because debt service schedules are set way in advance. Ad valorem taxes just going in, so we're right there on track where we should be. The permanent improvement funds column, so that is our general permanent improvement fund that receives taxes, but I went ahead and lumped in our general obligation bond permanent improvement funds also, just so you could get kind of a glimpse of what we have, what we're sitting on for permanent improvement projects. If you look, you'll see the change there from August 31st to September 30th, and that is because we just received the proceeds for the 2022 bond. So that's what's the timing there. But as you know, that fund balance is spoken for in many ways. We have our judicial center project, several large road projects, the remainder of the tower project. So items that will be, those funds will be used for. And then special revenue funds, that is just a compilation of all of our funds that receive specific court cost or fines and fees that must be spent on a specific purpose. So you can see they're pretty consistent with the prior year as well, so not much change. Then just looking at general fund, I just wanted to highlight some revenue items. So that top line, you will see a budget right over 100 million. That is the budget, or what we estimated for both ad valorem and sales and use tax. I just lumped those together. You'll see that we are estimating to come right over 105 million. That amount over our estimate is all sales tax. So again, we see that increase over and over year after year. Fines and fees revenue, it is right on track, but I thought that was just interesting to throw in there because those estimates were based on many offices, many different types of fines and fees that flow through those offices. And so you can see that the activity reflects what we thought was going to happen last year before the year started. So I think that shows, that offices are getting back after COVID, things are getting back to normal. Jack Harwell Detention Center inmate housing revenue. So just to remind you, we are operating, of course, the Jack Harwell Center. We house inmates that are for other entities at that facility. Those entities are billed. The money comes back through us and to our trustee for the PFC. They pay the debt, and then along with some other admin cost, and then the remainder flows back to us as operator revenue. That is going to be a little over what we anticipated this year. The reason mostly that it's over is that there was a timing difference on when we received some payments from the prior fiscal year, but that does, of course, reflect in this current year, so I wanted to make sure that was pointed out. Alcoholic beverage tax, that's been pretty constant over some years, and we saw a large increase this year. So pretty substantial, over $300,000 increase there in that line. And then that bottom line.
Surprised you underestimated the ability of this community to consume more alcoholic beverages during these stressful times.
And just larger chunks, like that revenue we see increasing, those of course are going to give relief to that ad valorem tax rate each year. So. And then the last is just a compilation of all other revenue lines. It's many lines, and you'll see there we're going to come over our estimate about 2.4 million, and that includes anything from interlocal agreement charges. Anyway, everything else will be lumped into that number. So you'll see there at the bottom, general fund revenues in total we anticipate to come around $9 million over budget. But that, we anticipated that at the beginning of the summer as well. So that was reflected in our budget discussions over the summer. And then just to focus then back on sales tax, I know I show this every time, but you can see that we are planning on estimating to end at 25 million for this year. We've estimated a little over 26 million for the next year, 2023. And you can see at the bottom those percentages year after year. It's very impressive. So I think this is important because this is a direct reflection of the economic development activity that you participate in. And then it results in giving relief to the taxpayers' property tax. So expenditures, just a few highlights for general fund. Large areas that will come under budget: personnel, and I know you all are aware of that, coming under budget a little over $5 million. Indigent defense coming under budget around $500,000. We will not see indigent defense come under budget like that. I don't foresee in the coming years. Supplies and equipment, those are line items that are spread out in every department. I just think it's telling to pull them all in and see really, what does that look like as a whole. So coming under budget about $640,000. These are areas that we have utilized to do budget transfers to accommodate the Sandy Creek agreement that you agreed to on the last agenda. And we'll be seeing that budget amendment here in a little bit. Venue project. So, of course, two main sources of revenue in our venue project are hotel occupancy taxes and vehicle rental taxes. So I know this is a lot on one page, but I just like to see it month by month, year after year. You can see, where we're at already in this current fiscal year of September, not loaded in yet. But, every month has far and exceeded, I think, what anyone had anticipated. The bottom section is just going to compare 11 months, the 11 months we're looking at above to the same 11 months in the prior years. So that just gives you an idea, last August, where we were, and that we are almost 50% higher than we were for the first 11 months last year. This is by month, in showing you for the last 5 years. So you can see, looking at September, you can see how in the last 5 years, September has changed. Of course, we know 2020, but you can see how, each of those months, bounce back for 2021. 2022, of course, we do see increases as well. But, there's not a lot of historical information yet for these taxes, 5 years, and 2 of those years being difficult information to use for trend. We're getting to where we have some trends to look at. And I think this is interesting because if you look at each month, you can see that each month correlates to the prior months. So I think that's pointing out that there are certain months that are, of course, driving our hotel taxes. And then on the vehicle rental tax side, this is just simple, but total revenue that is coming in through that tax for each year for the last 5. These taxes did not change a whole lot in 2020, a drop, but not anything significant. Remained constant for 2021, and then you can see that we have a pretty substantial increase there for 2022. And please stop me if y'all want to talk about any of these further. Looking at the revenues separate, I just wanted to put the revenues together now. So each of these bars for each year is total tax revenue, both vehicle rental and hotel occupancy for each of those years. So the green being vehicle rental tax and the aqua color being hotel. So you can see that, vehicle rental staying pretty static, but those hotel occupancy taxes are what is going to bring that revenue up to those higher levels. That line is just so you can see the trend there on what those years look like. And then, of course, revenues coming in, we've had expenditures, but then what does our fund balance look like for these funds at the end of each year? So you'll see, of course, 2017, I think, this started just that last month, that last bit of 2017. So 2018, we received our bond proceeds, taxes started coming in. And then as we use those proceeds and those taxes, of course, you'll see the base was completed. And so, that's of course where we're at now. But you'll see like the light green is the project fund, and then the dark green being the debt service. So those taxes are going into that debt service fund. And then, as we move forward, you're gonna see where, that green, the taxes, it's gonna build up, and then we're able to transfer money to the project. So, as time goes on, we wanna get that green number to be consistent, and to be more than what we need, that we're able to transfer, so that that light green color there, the project fund, keeps building, so that you're able to satisfy your agreements with the city and the school district, as well as continue the projects for the venue. Along the top, this is just gonna show you, September is estimated, but this fiscal year, through August, these are actual numbers. So what we've collected for hotel and for vehicle taxes, I take what we pay for our annual debt service and just divide that by 12. So you can kind of see what is the cost per month. And then you'll see that very bottom line there across, what amount we are collecting above and beyond the debt service requirement. And we have been above every month for this fiscal year. You'll see there on the right, the total column. So we're right under 1.2 million. And then the bottom two boxes, those are walk forwards for our two funds that make up this project. These are walk forwards for the whole fiscal year. So you'll see the debt service fund, the box on the bottom left. We began the year with 3.3 million. You'll see the revenue coming in there, the hotel occupancy and the vehicle. We made a debt service payment. There's some admin expenditures. And then we did make a transfer to the construction fund earlier in the year of 1.7 million. So we're anticipating September 30th, the end of this month, we'll be sitting right at 2.8 million. Then on the right side, there's your construction fund. We began with 1.4 million. It was increased by that transfer from the debt service fund. Construction expenditures are going to eat into that a little over 500,000. That includes the cost for Paul Tyson that you approved last court. There is a portion that is coming out of ARPA, so we maxed that out on what you wanted to spend out of ARPA, and then the remainder will come here. So we want to make sure that we're encumbering that in this fund. And then also earlier in the year, in February, we made initial payments to the school district and to the city of $1.5 million. And so that being said, again, at the end of this month, we plan on being right over $1 million. So what we can do is, I wanted you to all see this, on the next agenda, we'll have an action item where you can agree to transfer some from the debt service fund into the project fund. And we've had discussions with Mark McCliney with Samco already, and he, so that we have a number that we're comfortable with. And I think it will be somewhere around $1 million that we'll be able to transfer over to the project. And so again, that'll.
So, not to the debt service on obligations, to that or to what?
So it'll go into the construction fund, so, where we're showing ending at 1.1.
Yeah.
Be 2.1, and then when we get to February, so our agreement with city and school district says that every February, you'll look back at the calendar year, and whatever we collected in surplus, we'll take 50% of that and split it between those two entities, and keep doing that till we exhaust our obligation. So you'll see there, of course, the agreement specifies a calendar year, but if you took that fiscal year I have at the top, we're looking at 1.2 million. So, if that was telling of what the whole calendar year would be, moving that over, 600,000 roughly would be dispersed to those two entities. Does that?
And the two entities are working over there on the
project.
on the projects.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's
WSD's complete.
dirt is, Lake Erie Little League is, fields are gone.
Construction is underway.
And then the Lions Park is pretty much gone too. Oh, Dustin, what was the final, so there's these big mounds of dirt across the street from Waco High, where the Lake Erie Little League was. Is that gonna become parking or?
I would need to look at their final plans. I think part of that will actually be part of the new Waco High.
new school.
But
New
I need,
school? Okay.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
I need to
looks
see how it
looks
overlays.
more than just parking.
They're building it to the front, yeah. Well, what they've done so far looks really, really nice.
Oh yeah, Paul Tyson.
Paul Tyson looks nice.
So then, like I mentioned, action items to be taken will be to transfer, if you choose to, from debt service to construction, and then later on, after our calendar year is complete, bringing that forward to you to let you know what amounts will be dispersed to the entities per the agreement. And then I just quickly wanted to give you an update on our proprietary funds. Those are our self-insured health, vision, and dental plans. So this is just the last 4 years, walks forward the fund balance for each of the four, the fourth year being our current year, and that is just through August 31st. But you can see how those fund balances have grown, which is great. I know we have an item on the agenda today concerning the dental fund. But you can, like, those green columns as it moves forward, it's looking really good. And then if you take the last 3 complete fiscal years and take that fund balance as a percentage of expenses, we've looked at this before, but you can see where that first grouping is just health fund. So 2021, the orange or yellow bar, we're over 65% now as fund balance as a percentage of expenditures for that year. Dental is the one that it did drop. But that is on, of course, like I said, the agenda today to talk about the rates there. So when you look at it this way, I think that's telling that there needs to be an adjustment there. But all good.
That it?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank
That
you. Any
part.
questions for Francis? All right, there's a motion to approve that report for recording purposes.
So move.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, moving on to item F, budget and budget amendments. F1's regarding the FY22 budget. Francis?
Yes. Beginning with F1A. F1A is a budget amendment in the general fund for AgriLife Extension. They're requesting to move within their department into other services and charges for copier-related expenses for the remainder of the year. F1B is general fund, County Court at Law 2, also requesting to move within their department into repair and maintenance for an additional amount needed for their printer copier maintenance agreement. F1C is a certification of revenue for interlocal agreement proceeds with the city of Robinson in the amount of $44,100. And then there's an attached related budget amendment. Road and Bridge Precinct 1 is requesting to increase their road construction materials by that same amount. F1D, General Fund Health Services, requesting to move within their department into supplies for cost for the remainder of the year. F1E is General Fund County Judge, requesting to move within their department into professional services for costs for the remainder of the year. F1F, this budget amendment is requested to accommodate the agreement with the city of Waco for Sandy Creek. So we moved from various line items. The majority of these are personnel related. There are a few others. There's the line item that we use for tax appraisal services. So that budget where we are funding money to the appraisal district, it decreased from the time that we adopted the budget the prior year. So we have a surplus there. And then there's also some countywide road and bridge lines that we did not need to fully utilize, as well as indigent defense.
I have a question about the
Yes.
employee vaccinations line of that transfer.
Oh, yes.
In the HR department.
Mm-hmm.
How much was originally budgeted for that and actually spent?
So we originally budgeted $100,000. I know we've spent a very small amount. I can pull up exactly though.
And then I guess, did we include that in the 23 budget also too?
We did decrease that for the coming year. We worked with Anna to come up with a number that she thought was realistic of what they would actually need. I can get that as well. So we have spent a little over $600 out of that line item in the current year.
So that begs the question then, I'm having a hard time recalling what the justification was for putting 100 grand in there. And, you know, there was lots of talk about hepatitis vaccinations and things like that. Did we just not give those, or was it picked up by the health plan, or what exactly, where's the delta there?
If I can take that question, Francis. So initially, an amount was figured, just totaling the amount of hepatitis vaccinations that would be needed for all eligible positions. And there hasn't been a majority interest in the vaccinations. We are still offering it to new hires, and then any current employees who have not taken it are still eligible to take that vaccination. And then we just made a purchase, like a bulk purchase of vaccinations through Thumbs Up Compliance for, you can only buy them in small batches at a time because they have an expiration date.
Yeah.
And so we only buy them as they're needed.
Okay.
But I don't have that figure off the top of my head, but I can get that to you, what our recent purchase has been for those vaccinations.
Okay, I just wanted to know what the,
Yes, sir.
this seems like a lot for the budget.
Interest is we're getting.
Yeah, right. Mhm.
And looking forward to next year, the amount placed in the budget was $45,000 for 2023.
Thank you.
Francis, can you know what was spent in fiscal year 21? Because I want to say we made a large purchase
In 2021.
that year, and that's kind of is what held us up. That's why
In
not
2021,
much has been-
oh, sorry, Anna.
No, go ahead.
In 2021, we spent right under $25,000. And then moving back another year, 2020, we spent right under $50,000.
Thank you. So that was that initial purchase, and then last year we kind of bought up for the year, and that only just this past month did we run out and make a a smaller purchase to hold us over into the next fiscal year. So that's why we haven't spent that much. We were still using last year's purchase.
Okay, any other questions? All right, proceed.
F1G, General Fund JP Precinct 4, they're requesting to move within their department. They are needing additional funds in language translation. F1H, General Fund Road and Bridge Precinct 2, requesting to move within that department into road construction materials for needs for the rest of the year, as well as capital outlay, and that's related to a security system and a trailer. F1I, this is General Fund Road and Bridge Precinct 3, requesting to move into road construction materials and motor vehicle operating for costs for the rest of the year. They're requesting to move from other lines in their department, but will also need to move from the professional services line and countywide road and bridge. F1J, this is Fund 420. It's the Permanent Improvement Fund related to the zoo bond. So there is an addition of some structural slab cost to the education and vet complex. So there's a quote or invoice attached. And so there is an amount sitting in this bond that is unallocated to a specific project. And so at the beginning, when they brought original plans, there was understanding that there would be, some escalation, some change cost that we would be able, that they would be able to bring forward to you as those needs arose. So all within that bond, just moving into the correct line item. F1K, this is General Fund for County Court at Law 3, requesting to move within their department into professional development. F1L, General Fund Maintenance of Equipment, requesting to increase their motor vehicle operating line item. And F1M is General Fund Purchasing. They are requesting to move from various lines into other lines of their department to increase furniture and equipment and supplies. And the furniture and equipment is specific to a pallet jack. And that should conclude.
Okay, any questions about any of those? If not, is there a motion to approve these items from F1A to F1M?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
F2 is regarding the FY23 budget. Francis?
Sorry. So F2A1 and 2 are related to outgoing officials and the limits you set on bringing those expenditures to you. So F2A1, I'm sorry, I lost my.
Yeah, that's good. EDOC.
Yes, it's their, I believe their maintenance agreement. For EDOC, this is nothing out of the ordinary or up and above anything that they have normally done.
And F2A2?
And then F2A2, we do not have anything at this time.
All right, is there a motion to approve F2A?
So moved. A1.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
And then F2B is McLennan County 911 Emergency Assistance District recording of the FY23 adopted budget. And that is in your packet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yep.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Under item G, bids, RFPs, RFQs, G1 is authorization and recommendation for bid 22-012 hot and cold mix, laid asphaltic concrete, high performance asphalt, asphaltic oil sand, and limestone rock asphalt for pickup and delivery goods and services. Call on Ken.
I'm sorry, this seems to get a little bit more complicated every year. We keep on adding more products. We did receive bids from Arcosa Aggregates Bryan and Bryan Asphalt, Knife River, Texas Material Group, Unique Paving Materials, Vulcan Materials Company in Waller County. And we'd like to make the following recommendation for the cold mix asphalt type CC. I want to point out Vulcan Materials substituted limestone rock instead of aggregate in their cold mix that they submitted. And the picked up in our trucks is $64 per ton, and delivered is $124.60 per ton. We made this recommendation because they're the only ones that bid on that type CC. Hot mix asphalt type D, primary vendor, Texas Material, pickup in our truck is $85 per ton, and for delivery is $100 per ton. Secondary vendor was Knife River at $87 per ton, and they did not bid on the delivery. Cold mix asphalt type F, Waller County voted in our trucks is $95 per ton, and delivery is $151 per ton. Cold mix high performance asphalt, primary vendor Waller County, voted in our trucks is $105 per ton. Delivery is $161 per ton. Secondarily to Unique Paving, they bid, loaded in our trucks $120 per ton, and delivery is $165 per ton. Asphaltic oil sand, we didn't receive any load delivered, but picked up in our trucks is 60. Arcosa Aggregates bid $67 per ton, and then secondarily to Unique Paving, they bid $68 per ton. Limestone rock asphalt type AA, Vulcan Materials bid $64 per ton, picked up in our trucks, and delivered $124.60 per ton. And then limestone rock asphalt type D, Vulcan Materials bid $65 per ton, picked up in our trucks, and $125.60 per ton delivered. I want to point out anything that we pick up in our trucks, we award to all vendors based on location and availability. We just kind of made the, pointing out what the cheaper ones were now. And so those that are also delivered to us, I can only award basically on the low bid, but I also put in there based on availability, because from time to time we've had our primary vendor be short materials that we need for working on our roads. So that is our recommendation.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Any questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the recommendation of the Director of Purchasing.
Second.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Item G2, authorization regarding renewal of RFP 19-024, licensed peace officers for security on county properties, Texas One Security doing business as Texas Star Security. Ken?
Yes, we checked with Sheriff's Department. We'd still like to keep this in place. They are requesting a 3% rate increase for this next year. And so the new the rates would go from $13.31, would be adding like 39 cents. So the new rate would be $13.70 per hour on regular hours. Overtime hours would move from $19.97 per hour, adding 59 cents. And so the new overtime hourly rate would be $20.55. If approved by the court, this would be in effect from September 1, 2022 to October 31, 2023.
Okay, any questions?
Ken, a couple of questions or comments real quick. Why would you use, in other words, is $13.70 an hour for an 8-hour day?
Yes.
So then they charge overtime at $20.55. Why would you just ask for somebody different to come in? at the same rate.
I'm sorry.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And
You don't set their hours.
I don't set their hours. And
That's
here's the
strictly this.
deal. My understanding right now is we're only using one
At one location?
at one location,
Okay.
front door at,
And then the other thing, very quick, I noticed on some of our contracts, and this isn't necessarily for them, some people asking for 3%, some people asking for 7%. Is there any rhyme or reason why? Is that strictly a COLA question, or is there a way?
3% is what we actually have set in our contract.
With
We-
them?
Yeah.
Okay, but I noticed somebody later on is a 7% for something else.
Yes, and I'm kind of bringing that to the court as discretion of the court. We know things have changed rather drastically in a lot of areas, and so we know that they have a increase greater than the 3% by some of the different information that we get. And so that's how come sometimes we'll ask for more than a 3%. Basically, for years, you know, literally the average increase per year for everyone was somewhere around 3% or a little bit less. And so we kind of had that set in our contracts that they could ask for that.
8.5% inflation, I can understand. why.
Yeah, and that's it exactly. And again, we don't have to do it, but I think a lot of times we would not be gaining anything by going out to do a new bid because it's invariably going to be higher than what we're being requested.
Okay, any other questions for Ken? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve, G2.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Under item H, contracts and interlocal agreements, H1 is authorization of letter of agreement with Hendricks Consulting Engineers for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing assessment services for Heart of Texas Fair and Rodeo at the Extraco Event Center. TJ?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We're going to defer this one more time. We're currently working with Trilogy Engineering, and they are going to provide us a secondary quote. So they're a local firm here in town, so we're kind of anxious to see what they can put together for us.
All right, is there a motion to defer?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
H2, authorization of service agreement with Stericycle for Jack Harwell Detention Center medical waste disposal. Ken?
We are waiting for some information from Stericycle. I would request to the court to defer that another next court.
Motion to defer.
Second.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
H3 is authorization of preventative maintenance agreements with Emergency Power Services for generator maintenance for various locations. I'd like to call on TJ. Oh, TJ, you're on mute.
How about now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is our yearly agreement with Tim Harrington and Emergency Power Services. As you'll see, it hasn't changed from the previous year, so we recommend approval. It's been accounted for in the 2023 budget as well.
Just a quick question for, is that still open? I thought they closed that for a while, that runaway shelter.
We still keep it active because during the times they do allow employees in there, depending on what they've got going on in the facility. So Colin always keeps it open just in case we have something going on.
Kind of a flex space, the way I understand it, kind of.
Uh-huh.
Question? TJ, did we use the trailer mounted generator last year?
You know, the sheriff's office keeps it on standby for emergency situations. So it's just the yearly maintenance that's involved with that. I can't say if they used it or not. I'm unaware. But I know he was out there performing the PM on it a couple of weeks ago. So I think they always keep it ready to go just for standby purposes.
I guess the point I would make is if we're not using it, all it takes is going out there and firing it up one time to see if it runs. I'm not sure why we get charged the same thing for all the maintenance work on it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how often those guys test it. That would be a question for the SO. I'm sure it's run once a month, I would imagine, just like everything else. So I'm sure it's just a PM on it. I would have to let Michael speak to that.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve.
Second.
H3.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H4 is authorization of service agreement addendum with TK Elevator Corporation for 1211 Washington Avenue. TJ?
We'd like to defer this one more time until we close on the facility. I believe it may be scheduled for this Friday.
Either this Thursday or Friday. Yes, sir.
All right, I'll make a motion. We defer. Second. Motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H5 is authorization of lease agreement with Pitney Bowes for additional features for mail machine for the McLennan County Jail. I'd like to call on Ken and David Ives.
We have some questions called into Pitney Bowes, and we've yet to receive answers to those questions. They haven't called us back. So I'd like to defer this.
Is that H6 also?
H6, a different deal, the Pack Track app. I see it's written on here deferred, but I may have to defer to David Ives on that.
Motion to defer H5.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H6 is authorization of user agreement with K9 Development Group Incorporated, Pack Track for law enforcement K9 online record keeping database mobile app for the sheriff's office. David?
Guess we're going to defer that one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and defer.
All right.
I know, David, we had submitted some questions back to Pack Track. I see David's off mute, but we're not hearing you, David.
Okay. Okay. I'll
Motion to
make a
defer.
Motion to defer. Is there a second? Any discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
If it's all right with the court, the next group are our annual contracts, and I'll try to point out any changes that I'm aware of. Can we just take this next group together? Is that okay?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
H7 is authorization of interlocal cooperation agreement with City of Waco by and through the Waco McLennan County Public Health District. This is for the on-site sewage facilities. This is the OSF program, and there is $81,157 allocated for this in the contracted programs in the budget. H8 is authorization of contract for services with the Greater Waco Sports Commission. Funding totals $100,000, and it is included in the budget. H9 is authorization of renewal of service agreement with Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children. This is, again, the annual contract. There's $10,000 in the budget, and that's the same as last year. H10 is authorization of agreement for information technology support services with McLennan County Community Supervision and Corrections Department. This is the annual agreement where CSCD pays the county a sum of $35,100 for data processing services. H11 is authorization of contract for services with the Cove, Heart of Texas. This annual contract totals $47,500. H12 is authorization of renewal of services agreement with McLennan County Dispute Resolution Center. The payments to the Dispute Resolution Center will not exceed $54,000, same as last year. And there's also, I believe, Francis, there's another line item for it could be up to $63,000 to assist with their Child Protective Services mediation program.
That's correct.
Then H13 is authorization of agreement renewal with McLennan County Employees Federal Credit Union. This is just for storage of their records. H14 is reauthorization of interlocal agreement with McLennan County 911 Emergency Assistance District. And it just states that the district will furnish and install backup 911 system equipment for all public safety answering points in the county. And there's no cost to the county for this at the sheriff's office. H15 is authorization of contracts for fire protection services with county volunteer fire departments and the McLennan County Fire Protection Association. Change that we did add in here is, of course, the increase in the square mileage, and then also added language about the inspection protocols and inspection standards checklist. So that is included in these new agreements. H16 is authorization of interlocal cooperation agreement with City of Waco for litter control services at the city landfill and law enforcement services. This is where we provide 4 law enforcement positions to the city, and the city pays for those spots. One is a PUP officer, and the other 3 are commissioned peace officers that investigate illegal dump sites and illegal dumping inside the city limits of Waco.
On the PUP officer, so he just ends up being a regular officer without a crew, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So we have no county inmates that are being supervised right now. Is that correct?
Right. I believe that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
H17 is authorization of contract for services with Creative Waco. Funding totals $55,000 and is included in the budget. H18 is authorization of agreement for economic development services with the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. This includes the annual contract amount and then also our 1/2 of the licensing fees for the software, where the city pays the second half. H19 is authorization of contract for services with Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce for the In Waco Digital Talent Recruitment and Marketing Campaign.
Question.
Funding.
on that
Sorry,
one.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish that
Oh,
statement.
sorry. Just funding totals $50,000 and funds are included in the budget for this one as well.
So that contract is perpetuity, or I wasn't aware that we were, that was gonna be, I knew we did that last year. Is that something we're doing every year?
Well, and as long as the program is working.
As long as it's working?
Yeah, I mean, it should have a return, but, you know, that, we can get a report back from the chamber on the.
Have they launched?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some numbers that would look good, but I guess I wasn't aware that that was just a continuous contract.
Nothing's continuous. Every year we have to renew everything.
Yes.
All right, moving on to H20. This is authorization of First Amendment to Memorandum of Agreement with Baylor University. This is for the mental health court program cooperation. Baylor did receive an additional federal grant, so it did cause several sections of this language to change to be in compliance with those grant requirements. And Judge Hodges has reviewed and approved this amendment. Then H21 is authorization of contract for services with Texas Brazos Trail. It totals $15,000 and again is included in the budget. And Judge, I think that's a good stopping point on that.
Okay.
I had a question. On H18, our contract with the Greater Waco Chamber, I know there was discussion last year where the Greater Chamber mentioned how they interact with the minority chambers, the Syntax African American and the Syntax Hispanic Chamber. I didn't see it in the notes, and I didn't see anything that they submitted that shows that they're doing that outreach this year, or that they're coordinating with those minority chambers. And so my concern would be, I know like the city of Waco, they allocate money in their budget to help the African American Chamber and to help the Hispanic Chamber in their initiatives, such as, I know the African American Chamber in their small business grant program, in their Esther's Closet, helping women have the right attire for interviews and to help them start in the job force. And I know the Hispanic Chamber has initiatives that they do as far as a directory for their contractors. So I don't want to lose the support we have for those minority chambers. And I thought that the Greater Chamber was undergirding it, but it appears that they are not. So at some point, we do need to look at, like the city of Waco, how do we outreach and make sure that those chambers that are reaching other populations in our community are also undergirded.
Okay. I mean, I see both those chambers involved in all the Greater Waco Chambers events and trips and all those things. I'm not aware of any, you know, the funding generally comes from the city or the county or and their membership.
And-
But I don't know what, if we can follow up with that.
It could be something we could look at, if not this fiscal year, next fiscal year. Because I know one of the things that the Greater Waco Chamber said last year is that they listed the ways that they support and undergird those minority chambers, but I didn't see any of that going into this next year. And so at some point, perhaps, because I know Commissioner Jones had thought, he said, do we already fund them? But we do not. But at some point, we need to look at how do we help them also do their outreach, because they're hidden communities that maybe the Greater Waco Chamber is missing in some way. So.
Probably need to follow up with the chamber to see if that
Agreed.
was just a mistake. Are they still
Yeah.
providing some funding?
I don't think anything's changed, but we need to get that from them.
Yeah, we need to get them to.
Okay.
And then one question real quick. What do they mean by licensing fees? What are required that we pay half?
There is, whenever we get, like a report that has returned on investments and those things, it's done by a firm that we pay to help us analyze, what our returns are. Otherwise, we'd be guessing. It's
Right. So it's a third-party
Yeah,
vendor
it's a
that
third party.
we're utilizing, and they charge
Right.
okay.
It's nationally renowned, group.
Thank you.
And also, on H21, did we ever get any kind of a presentation or report on how, I think last year was our first year to fund this,
On what?
on
Brazos
Brazos Trails? What did we
Yes,
get for
they-
our investment?
Well, they sent, that report. But, it's marketing.
I have to go back and dig it up. I'm sorry, I didn't recall it, so that's why I was asking.
Well, they made a presentation last year or something, or two.
Year
for
before,
the fund.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, for the funding.
Yeah. I know everybody else came back and presented, but we didn't see anything.
And I think we've received one report, and so we'll get that out and send it to the court today, if that's okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, those contracts are all previously discussed, were from H7 through
21.
21.
Move to approve H7 through H21.
Second.
All right, motion been made, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, H22 is authorization of renewal of Employee Assistance Program, EAP services with Deer Oaks EAP Services. Anna?
Thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone. I am requesting approval to renew and enter our fourth option year with the Employee Assistance Program through Deer Oaks that would provide us service for our workforce beginning October 1st of this year into September 30th of 2023. There is no change in pricing as outlined in our option years, outlined in our original initial agreement. So the pricing will remain the same, $1.56 per employee per month. And just to review the services that our workforce is receiving through the Employee Assistance Program, legal assistance, financial consultation, identity recovery, will preparation, and the most utilized service, that's counseling. So 24 hours a day, our employees can contact the EAP phone number and receive assistance over the phone. And I can take any questions about the service, if the court has any.
I did notice that from the COVID year, it was down substantially, and I'd like to see us work to increase it, because there are a lot of really neat offers here with the program. And
Yes, sir. That large percentage figure you could see there, almost 20% utilization during the pandemic. It's due to 133 clinical reach outs or assistance from our workforce.
very much needed, I agree, but it dropped to 5.4, and I'm just saying, I'd like, with all the other offerings that are included with this program, I'd like to see us increase our utilization of it.
Definitely, we'll continue to work on awareness that it's not just when you're struggling that you could reach out to them. They have definitely other great valuable services to offer outside of counseling.
My motion be to approve H22.
Second.
All right, have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Thank you.
Under H23, regarding Heart of Texas Region Behavioral Health Network Service Agreement renewals, H23A through F will all need to be deferred. We're still waiting on some info from the center.
All right, I make a motion, we defer.
Second?
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
H24 is authorization of renewal of customer service agreements with UniFirst uniforms for Road and Bridge precincts. Ken?
Yes, we've contacted all the precincts on their uniforms from UniFirst. We found out just recently that there have been a few issues with UniFirst. I called in a representative from UniFirst yesterday and had quite a long talk with him and asked for improvement where they've been somewhat lacking. But I'm going to go ahead.
In service or product quality?
I'm sorry, what?
In service or product quality?
Mainly in service.
Missing
There's 4
things,
precincts.
stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I literally shared with him, if he can't find a way to improve this, then I don't have any problem in canceling their contract.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, I think the other 3 are doing, most of the precincts are doing okay. It's different delivery person.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and request that we renew these for another year with the caveat that if there continues to be issues, we may do something a little bit different. So.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the court?
A motion to approve the contract as presented. Second.
Motion made second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
H25 is authorization of addendum to agreement for dental services with Dentrust Dental PC. This is for dental care for inmates and detainees. Ken?
Dentrust has been a long-time provider of dental services out at the jail. We've contacted David Ives, and we're good with their service. This is prices should remain the same for another year for the dental procedures. And so if the court approves, then this contract will be from October 1, 2022 through September 30th, 2023.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. All right, let's stop right here and take a 10-minute break. Meeting back into session. All right. Justin?
All right, we can go to item I, capital improvement and construction projects. I-1s regarding the Mart Water Project street repair agreement with the city of Mart, authorization of third and final payment request. Zane?
Give us some good news.
Yes, sir. At this time, it appears that Mart has done the amount of work they're wanting to do on the roads and have expended all of the funds. So I would recommend to the court to release the final check to Mart.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Zane? Not, is there a motion to approve the final payment?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
I-2s regarding McLennan County Line Road South Creek Crossing Improvements, bid 21-020, construction agreement with LC Paving and Construction, authorization of application for payment invoice number 3. Zane?
Yes, sir. This is the third invoice for the low water crossing improvements on County Line Road South. The invoice has been reviewed and it's recommended for approval.
Okay, any questions for Zane? If
Motion
not,
to approve invoice number 3.
Second. Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
I-3s regarding ADA renovations to MHMR Crisis Center, bid 21-003, agreement with HCS, authorization of payment application number 13. TJ?
Yes, we've reviewed this and it's in line with the scope of work that has been completed so far. They're finishing up some tiling details and some plumbing over there, so we should be within a couple of weeks of our closeout date and closeout documents. So we recommend this for approval.
Move to approve.
All right, I have a motion and I'll
Second.
second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
We have nothing under item J this week. Under item K, grants and grant proposals. K1 is the ARPA discussion. And Judge and Court, we have just an overview of ARPA. Do y'all want to do that now, or would you like to hold it till later in the meeting?
Why don't we, let's hold that and get through the big part of it, and we'll know how much time we have left to discuss it.
Sounds good. There is an actual budget adjustment that needs action. It's K1A, authorization of American Rescue Plan budget adjustment. Would you like to do it now or hold it as well?
Francis says we can do it now.
It is just a budget amendment, budget adjustment for the ARPA fund. Just going through quickly, we need to accommodate some COVID-19 testing. We need to increase the line item for the cleaning prevention for the courthouse. That has dwindled to where the cost is very minimal now. So you'll stop seeing those, the cleaning prevention costs added to this budget each time. We've increased the line item for Texas State Technical College project. A slight increase to the base security line, just to make that exactly what it needed to be after that was all said and done. We made an adjustment to the infrastructure category. We maxed it out at 10 million for the water improvement project. And then we allocated part of our 10 million revenue replacement category to the Area B demolition at the Paul Tyson property.
Okay. All right, let's see. Is there a motion to approve those budget amendments?
So move. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
K1B is regarding the professional consulting contract with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newton Incorporated, authorization of professional services invoice. Number 8, this invoice total is $10,067.07, and this is related to ARPA through August 19th, 2022.
Okay, any questions on that? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
K2 is regarding the bipartisan infrastructure law. And we continue to work with TLC and gathering responses to some questions they sent. They're actively researching grant opportunities. So that's really the only update for today on that item.
Okay.
Moving on to K3 regarding the Bureau of Justice Assistance Small Rural Tribal Body Worn Camera Program, discussion and or action on grant award acceptance for Constable Precinct 1. I'd like to call on April Lingo.
Here she comes,
Hey,
person.
Come on in there.
How are y'all today?
Hi.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm not sure what we, oh, I guess we need to sit here. Did y'all get the, I guess, the updated,
We did.
contract? Okay, and then, I guess there were some questions that needed answered from last time.
Well, I think just briefly kind of go over, give it one more overview if you don't mind.
Okay, so basically it's body cameras for our office. I think it was a total of 10. They revised the contract because of the grant. Did y'all get a copy of the paperwork from the grant? Because I don't know if they ever transmitted it to y'all or not.
I don't believe I've seen it.
Y'all want
Justin, have you seen it? You or Mike?
I don't know if anyone.
Judge, yes, sir, we have in conjunction with IT.
Okay.
Okay. So the grant was, it's supposed to be awarded at $9,538.50. And it's a match, I guess, for the total. It's showing for that year is $19,029.44. I think it's for the, I'm not sure, Dustin, how it broke down.
I'm
the
looking
parts.
for it right now.
Okay.
April, which one are you looking at?
I'm sorry?
Which quote are you looking at?
This is the newest one that was from.
So that one has all of the hardware costs in the first year.
Yes, it's like $19,029.44. Yeah,
So it puts the county expense at 10,000.
yeah.
So the first year, our cost is $10,500.10.
Yes,
That's our total cost, that's our total
For the-
out the door of the first year.
yes, sir.
For the hardware.
For the hardware, yes.
Okay, what's our total?
That is, it's, for the first year, it's hardware only,
Okay, so-
I'm assuming, because the grant pays for hardware only.
Okay, so the first year, we'll write a check for $10,500.10.
Yes, sir.
That will cover your maintenance, your subscriptions, your storage.
All for that same year as well.
Whatever it covers.
Correct.
The total bill is $10,500.
Yes, sir.
That's all I want to know.
Yes, sir.
I don't really care where, I'm not being ugly, but I'm not worried to where it goes. I just want to know
Yes,
what
sir. That's
we're
correct.
signing the check for.
Includes the storage?
He said storage.
For the first year, yes.
For the first year. And then
What about
years,
storage for the second year, third?
That's
That's
the $10,555 for the
Okay.
next 5 years, and it's basically just for the storage and the licensing and all of that stuff. The hardware will all be paid for.
And where would the 10.5 come from?
us.
Your budget?
Yeah, no, we don't have it in, I mean, we would ask. Yes,
You
yes.
just add it to your budget. If
Yes, sir.
approved, it'll be in a budget item in your line
Correct.
item.
And if you approve something, I know the year hasn't started, I would say this early in the year, but when the year gets started, usually we would move from contingencies because there's no way to know where we would have excess funds so early in the year. So we would need a budget amendment for that amount in 2023 and then 2024 through 20. Yes, yes, 4, 5, 6, 7. We would need to accommodate that same amount in the budget for those years going forward. So.
Okay, let me get a understanding. So right now, for year one, but that's 10,510, that's what's left for the county to pay after we have
The grant.
attributed the grant to your
Correct.
project?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What's the life on these?
They have a warranty of 5 years, which is also why they put them in a 5-year plan, but also in part of what you're paying for in that $10,000 in that service is basically what they refer to.
To refresh, it's a double refresh. So at year 2.5, they'll send us new cameras, and then at year 5, we get another set of new cameras.
Year 6, we start over.
Correct. But we'll have new cameras at year 5, so yeah,
So this is a 5-year contract?
correct.
If I were going to look at McLennan County, how many law enforcement agencies right now have body cams?
In McLennan County?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
you mean like Waco and all
Yes,
of
ma'am.
those? All the, as far as I know, most of the municipalities do have them.
Okay.
Waco PD also.
Waco PD.
Waco has them.
Yeah,
I knew
Waco
Waco
has
did.
Axon. I'm not sure what type of cameras the other agencies have, but
Okay.
they all, as far as I know, have body cameras. The cities do.
How many officers do you have? Like, how many would be wearing body cams?
We have 10.
You have 10, and you put body cams on all 10?
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, April?
Yes, sir.
You say that's for hardware. There's got to be a software charge in here somewhere.
It's a storage piece.
Is that part of the storage fee?
It's the 10.5.
I can't hear him, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the, Mike, that's the 10.5.
That's the $10,510 includes the storage and the licensing and stuff for that first year.
And your
Okay.
grant would cover your
The
hardware?
grant covers the hardware.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've shared my screen on what I think is the most recent proposal we had received.
Yes.
It does show the hardware, software, and additional services.
And we have in place, Mike, we have in place policy, or precinct one has in place policy governing use
Yes.
of the body camera, right?
Yes, because we've been using body cameras for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, but they're outdated
Right,
and
right.
yes.
So we have
But
a
we do
policy.
have a policy, yes.
Okay,
It's part
very
of the
good.
best practice program.
Say that was part of your best practice.
Correct, yes,
Best
sir.
practices.
Yes, sir.
Best practices. yeah.
Yes, sir.
So the total cost over the five years is 60 something, but it's only.
61,031.64, yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going over that in my head. It was 60 something for the 5 years.
I'd like to move us forward, Judge, if it's okay.
I would too.
And move that we approve the request.
And
I second it, and have discussion.
Right, and just, I know this has been a process and we've asked a lot, but
Yes, sir.
it just seemed like this thing kept coming in pieces here and pieces there.
Yes, sir.
But it's a very clear picture today, so
Yes,
thank you.
It is, and I appreciate the
Yes,
the
sir.
responses that broke it down simple enough where I could understand it.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and any other questions?
How many are there? 10?
There's
Yeah.
10 cameras, yes, sir.
I'd like to say this, I would like to thank you for moving forward with this project, and hopefully it could serve as a pilot program for other law enforcement departments in the county to just kind of look at what you all are doing and gather the efficiency or productivity from it.
Yes,
So
sir.
I want to thank you for stepping out and doing it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your perseverance.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank y'all for being patient since it's my first time doing this.
Judge, we have one more item. Do you want us to stay just to that or come back?
Let's see, that's the HR item.
It's the Facebook thing, the
Facebook account?
social media.
Social media
Yes,
page?
yes, sir.
All right, what item number is that?
Okay. It's L something.
L3.
L3 is Constable Precinct 1, authorizations regarding social media account request.
Coming in. Of course.
Okay.
Let me get my notes forward here. Oh, I left my thing in there. Oh, well. It's okay. Yes. My notes in order.
Okay, on this item, the Constable One's office came to us recently to request a Facebook page. They would like to use this to have a public presence for their community outreach and provide educational materials regarding the civil process. Thank you. for the public. And during this time, we were preparing for this, it came to their attention that the district's attorney's office notified them that there is a judge that is also interested in utilizing a recent amendment to Rule 106B2. It states that a court may, under proper circumstances, permit service of a citation electronically by social media, email, or other technology. So with that potential interest in use, we wanted to be sure and bring that to the court's attention as well with approving the Facebook page for this office. It is our feeling that much more discussion will be needed between the courts and the offices that are responsible for the civil service. There'll be many considerations, I'm sure, for this alternate means of service. I don't know if they want to consider a dedicated social media for those sorts of things, or whether they would like to have the different constables' office have their own Facebook pages for that. So I did ask April to join me today to update you on the information she's found. She's contacted many of the other counties within Texas to see how they're utilizing that, to bring you that feedback.
So I contacted 12 to 13 other counties, going from Harris County all the way to Hill County. I found that only 2 have used social media. I talked to a constable from Johnson County who said he did an alternate service by posting it on their messenger. There's a Facebook Messenger. And then the Hill County constable that has used this alternate service, he just posted it flat out on their page. Publicly. So it's similar to a citation by publication, where if someone can't serve a person in person, the courts can deem alternate service by publication, which is just putting it in a newspaper. Don't know if they read it or not, but at least it's out there where that person has access to that document that's trying to be served to them. And this is kind of the same thing, it's just on social media. But I know that with that Senate bill where everything has to be recorded for open records, that it needs to be an archivable type of Facebook. So that's why we're asking for, I guess, the Facebook through archive.
Yes.
Social, so that it's recorded that we've done that transmission if a judge deems it that way, if that makes sense.
Has Mike looked at this at all?
Yes, sir. We have been in communication with Dustin and Mike
I
Dixon.
would definitely want him on board, yeah.
The rule has been changed to provide that you have to go through regular means of service and have failed first.
Yes.
And then you can go to the judge and seek an alternate means of service. So what they would need is approval of a Facebook account. And then I guess they're also seeking to be added on to the Archive Social contract that we already have.
And in speaking with the district clerk's office, this appears to be very limited. As Mike said, you have to go through the means first. It fits well with the Child Protection Court, and that's where the request originated. But at least initially, this will be very limited and could expand over time. But for now, it'll be pretty limited in use.
It'll be pretty much trying to go after child support, deadbeat child support.
So it's limited to this purpose only.
Yes, sir, and it's driven by the judge.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one facet of it. Y'all are also interested in just educational purposes.
Correct.
I mean, primarily, that's the reason you first got into it.
Yes, and then it was brought to our attention, yeah, that the judge would be interested in maybe serving process this way, and that's what we had to kind of stop and be like, okay, wait a minute, we got to look more into this first before.
But if they decide not to do it, you're still interested in having this for the educational purposes and community outreach.
Yes, because we're going to be doing National Night Out and things like that with the public, and post photos and just have a page for our office.
Excellent. If the court will remember, back when the constable in Bryan College Station got shot 7-8 years ago, they found that the perpetrator in that incident had posted a lot of stuff on Facebook, weapons and comments and different things. And
At that time, I came to the court and asked for my computers in my office to be allowed to get on Facebook. And we made it a policy that every single paper we serve, our deputies, you know, they research that individual, and one of the places they look is Facebook. We just don't do any posting on it. And what April's wanting to do is increase our presence, and she would be the one that would have control of that, not the deputies. They still can look at it, but they can't post on it. And
There's a
then
lot of
we only.
educational material that can be put out.
Yes, sir.
So there's like handouts and things on how to, you know, like if you're locked out of your apartment, things like that, how to help the public gain that information on how to help them.
Well, we got Lisa and Mike here. Do either one of you see any drawbacks to this?
I don't see any drawbacks. You know, it's authorized by the rules of civil procedure by the Supreme Court. But in reality, it sounds like most of what they're going to be doing is educational. It's no different than any of the other departments. And, but we need to have them on Archive Social to have their county business saved.
Yes, I agree with.
How many departments currently have social media pages?
Oh, thank you. Went to 13.
13, so it's not exactly like we're inventing the wheel here.
No,
Well, just that new piece of it, right?
this
Just
is
that
this is a new. This
Which
is
may or may not ever be utilized.
Correct. You're right.
We have no way to know if that'll
It's
even
under
be.
certain circumstances, and so we, of course, leave it to the courts to make those determinations on how that's done. It is, you know, authorized by the state, so you know, given those things, you know, we just wanted to make sure the court was aware that that could be coming a potential use, before you authorize the page, so.
From a privacy standpoint, it would probably be more acceptable to do it through Messenger than to just post it on their
Yes, sir.
Facebook. But you know, there may be some that deserve that.
So you don't want them sharing the deadbeat of the week portion of the.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's published in the paper, I don't see a lot of difference between it being published in the paper for anybody to read and being on a social media account. So
And I
that's
believe this is all open records.
It's open
as well.
records anyhow. That's
Exactly.
right.
It's just a new medium to communicate through.
That's
The new
interesting. Very
age, new
interesting.
generation.
Yes, utilizing technology.
And no political stuff out there, no, none of that would ever be put out, no glamour shots of stripping or anything. That's what I fear.
I do want to address the court real quick on the Archive Social part, just to make sure that once the page is launched, Archive Social will break that connection if the account is not actively used within every 60 to 90 days. So if you're going to use Messenger, make sure that you keep it active or you're posting things on your page, otherwise it'll break that connection.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that,
Thank you, Shaquan.
yes, that is something we've
All right, Judge,
communicated.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah.
As usual.
As usual. I move that we approve L3.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Judge.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Moving back up to item K4, acceptance of solid waste grant funding from Heart of Texas Council of Governments for precinct community collection events.
Where are we, Dustin?
K4.
K4.
K4, Hot Cog is providing the county
Oh,
funding
yeah.
totaling $7,000 to be used for precinct community collection events.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
K5 is regarding the statewide automated victim notification service grant, authorization of participating entity service agreement with APRIS Insights. And this is an annual agreement we enter to. The Office of Attorney General has selected APRIS as their certified vendor, and this is just our agreement with that vendor.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
K6 is regarding the Texas Indigent Defense Commission Indigent Defense Improvement Grant Program, authorization of statement of grant award and related resolution for mental health managed assigned counsel program. Our initial grant submission was approved in court back on May the 5th, 2020. And this is a statement of grant award totaling $81,052 for year 3 of this grant.
Okay, any questions?
Motion to approve K6.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
K7 is regarding the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Grant, short form of agreement for professional services with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham. Authorization of professional service invoice number 8. This is an invoice totaling $6,182.50 for their services related to that Water Smart Grant through August 19th, 2022.
All right, any questions on that?
Move to approve.
Second. Motion, second, any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
I wanna go
Under
back to
item L,
K4.
Department
If I could, I'd like to go back to K4, the Heart of Texas Council of Governments on the community cleanup. The $7,000 that's being made available through HOCOG, is that going to be spread out through 4 precincts or 3 precincts?
I'm not sure. I guess that is a court decision.
I would bet it's gonna be all 4, but it just seems that it says 3 right here, so.
Well, 3 have already scheduled.
Right. Yep. But that would be split 4 ways.
4 ways, okay.
I support that.
All right,
That's fair.
okay. All right,
All right, moving on to item L, Department Office Specific Requests. L1's County Sheriff, authorization of requests for tough books and related SIM cards. Dr. Colin Ken.
Yes, the current tough books that the sheriff's department is using are going to be incompatible with the new network when it's updated. So we're gonna have the need to replace 65 tough books for the sheriff's department. I don't have a cost on that. I believe that,
We just replaced a bunch during budget, so what's?
I think that
What's the difference between this and what we approved in the budget?
Commissioners,
Yeah.
this is just for the SIM cards, so we did get the approval for all of the 65 tough books. It's roughly $410,000.
yes.
And that includes all of the hardware equipment. But the SIM cards come separate from AT&T, and they're not compatible on their current tough books. They have to have new technology to communicate with Waco PD's new infrastructure.
And that cost will be $30. The SIM card's free, but the service is $30 a month.
Which is
plus
about
So
the
this is
same
only,
price as
this, so
what
this
their
is only
current
a
ones.
$1,950 charge
Plus
per
tax,
month,
plus taxes.
plus tax
Yeah.
per
And
month.
it's actually around the same cost as the SIM card service that they're receiving now on the current tough books. It's just swapping out those SIM cards from old to new, because Waco PD, especially AT&T, they're also decommissioning the 3G services. So the new FirstNet service that Waco PD has to go in line with the new SIM cards as well.
Okay.
So just to be very clear, we've already approved the tough books. What
Yes,
we're
sir.
doing today are the SIM cards.
The SIM cards,
And I'm
correct.
sorry, I was just starting there that we're replacing those where we also have to replace the SIM card that goes in.
okay. Any other questions?
So it's $1,950 per month.
Yes,
Which is which is compatible with what we're currently paying or close to it.
close to it, yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
The motion to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, we have motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. Thank you.
L2's information tech.
Somebody distracted me.
I'm sorry.
L2 information technology. L2A's discussion and interaction regarding phone system upgrade. I'd like to call on Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. This particular item, bringing to court, we had an unexpected issue occur that will require some funding. So to kind of give you some back history on this, court approved us the VX Rail system, which was going to host all of our virtual environment. We got that appliance stood up in May. We've been working over the summer to get all the virtual servers migrated into that system. What our plan was to follow that is to repurpose our newest pair of virtual clusters, those host servers to, we were going to migrate our phone network onto that to create redundancy for our phone network. So we had that planned in our August maintenance window, and we ran into an unexpected issue that was encountered. We had coordinated that work with our phone support vendor, A&A Technology, and we encountered a licensing issue that did not allow us to complete that migration. So in working with them to resolve that issue, they were reaching out to the product manufacturer for what we utilize for our voicemail system. It is not actually a Mitel product. It is someone they partner with. And they ran into various issues with them, and we were unable to resolve that. I apologize, but I did forget to put their email with their recommendation, and so Tim's brought that up for us there. If you guys can read that.
No.
Sorry, but I
But they
can read that
recommend
to
it.
you. Yes, he recommended it. There were issues. It says, let's see, due to the uncertainty of the manufacturer's ability, desire, or willingness to provide service or support on this dated system, this establishes our recommendation that we transition to the Mitel MyCoLabs solution as soon as possible. He goes on to say, Mitel has established a path for such migration as it represents the future collaboration solutions moving forward. This also is the path that will be required in order to stay in line with Mitel and industry evolution into unified communications and the remote and mobile world that we now live in. This will not only bring the voice and messaging solutions at the county in line with Mitel's stated vision for the future, but it also eliminates any further concern over the current dated messaging system. In addition, it will provide future mobility and unified communication tools previously not available to county officials and staff. So we've been working with them to determine what those options look like. So that is what I've brought forward for the court. I have three options. One will provide the exact same features that we have with our voicemail system. They have estimated we need about 850 mailboxes. We actually have a little bit more than that, but there has not been an audit of that system in some time. These mailboxes serve as our voicemail. They serve as announcements for certain departments. They also serve as call trees in various places throughout the county. So in order to do that audit, we will need a little time to send to each department all the mailboxes that are in use, have them review that, let us know what they want to keep, what they don't, and whether or not they want to update that. So this is an estimate at that count. After the audit, this may go down or could possibly go up a little bit. For 850 mailbox licenses, the cost will be $19,641. If there is an interest in moving to or taking advantage of the unified communication and collaboration options, I wanted to present that to the court. There's additional cost for those licensings. So what I've done here is if we need to make a determination of how many end users might benefit from these features. They are more expensive, so I don't think that's something that every McLennan County employee would need. David and I have talked about this, and when we think this is something we could see elected officials, department heads, and maybe executive level staff utilizing. So we have an estimate here. We started, option 3 has 250 of these such licenses, which would leave 600 remaining with the regular features that we now use. We settled on that number basing it on the VPN accounts that were currently created through the pandemic. These are the number of people that we have authorized for remote work. So we feel like this may be a good number to start with. To include those type licenses, the cost would be $42,456. The difference in, if we wanted to start with the basic system and then look at doing this down the road, you would be buying licenses that would later be of no use to you. So the benefit of buying this now, if we made that projection, we can come in, get the server migrated, put in place, or I'm sorry, not migrated, get it built, put it in place, and then when IT is ready, we can bring these features in. They transition into that with no additional cost. We would then, if we had bought the others, if we just go with the full 850, replacing that, and bring it in down the road, and you want to pay for it at that time, you would have to retire some of the licenses that you had already purchased. So we wanted to take into consideration the bundle, the license bundles that we purchase. We get a discount with the more that we purchase, but to retire them, you have to retire them in the same bundles. So what we have on the quote, if I can pull that one up in front of me, if you have that reference, on the,
Is this the entry standard or meetings up?
That would be the standard for the 250.
yes.
Standard for the 250?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we selected the standard option. I gave you a chart with the
Yeah.
features.
See that?
He told us to disregard the basic column. That actually has less features than what we're utilizing now. The entry level was very similar to what we have, but the standard is where we found some features that we felt like would be beneficial. You would be able to bring in desktop applications where you could communicate with the phone system that way instead of just through your phone and the dial pad. You could see when people were available. You could see your missed calls, the calls going out, all your call history. There's various other things available there at your desktop. You can utilize a desktop soft phone. You can incorporate your cell or any mobile device into this. You can have them instead of having to forward your phone or remember to take it off or turn it on and whatnot, you could have these on simultaneously to receive calls, whether you're traveling or whatnot, through a web app. You can jump in, take your mobile phone out of that if you're on vacation and you don't want to receive that call at that location. If you're in the office and you've got somewhere to go, you can do a handoff with your call and you can just seamlessly carry on that conversation. So there were a number of features. I believe there was, they have a virtual meeting collaboration tool, much like Zoom. What other items struck you, David?
There was I'm looking for the actual wording for it on here, but basically the option that would allow you to have your messages go to your email.
That's what I was gonna ask about.
Yes, sir.
That would be a nice one to have. If there is a voicemail.
Yes.
Which option would have that?
The standard would carry all of the features we're talking about, and I'm sure I've left some features off.
Standard, what price is that one?
So on the standard, and looking at the quote for that, that one, and I did.
Which option is that?
Yeah, that would be visual voicemail.
Well, which one of these three options are we talking about that is
So-
included?
That would be standard, Commissioner.
I don't see.
So we
standard.
have
I
an
see
option
option one,
one,
option two, and
option
option
two.
three.
I'm sorry. That would be either option 2 or 3, depending on how many licenses we would be purchasing.
Yes, sir. The
Oh,
difference
okay.
between 2 and 3 is how many of these special licenses we invested in.
Option one gives you 850 mailbox licenses, but option 2 and 3 give you fewer mailbox licenses. Why is that?
Actually, it's a division,
So you'd get,
still
you'd get 100 with the upgraded and then 750 with the
regular.
regular.
Okay, so it
And number-
totals 850,
Yes, sir.
no matter how you scramble it.
And number 3 is the same way. You get 250 with the
Okay.
enhanced features and 600 with the regular features.
And y'all really need to audit all these.
I would highly
And
recommend
and
that
then we need to figure out how many of the upgraded licenses that
makes sense.
make sense.
What happens if you come in over 850 total?
Well, I mean,
You
that's,
said that's a possibility.
if the audit comes back and the departments reply and we find out more people, they're gonna wanna take advantage of these things, maybe, I'm gonna use Jared as an example in the elections office. They actually had a pretty complex, messaging system under, Kathy, you know, with different announcements for upcoming, elections and whatnot. Jared used to manage that. Under his, direction, he's opted not to use as many of these different call-ins. They take on those calls themselves and haven't felt the need to use the messaging. So, and for him, as an example, he would use less of those mailboxes than they had in the past. We would recoup those and not have to buy those licenses. And I think we're gonna see some of that in various offices. We've had a lot of turnover with department heads and elected officials, and not everybody manages things the same way. So I think we could, rather than carry all the old baggage, the old licenses forward that may not be being used, we wanna get a look at that. But on the other hand, with new features coming into play, you know, we may have more people that are interested in utilizing some of these new features.
So you mentioned 850, and that's the total that we're looking at. But
That is
you
what was-
said it could be fewer, it could be more. If it's more than 850, do we just buy additional licenses?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We would need to buy
Okay.
additional,
Okay.
and they sell the bundles. We get like, we have a 500, just going back to the original 850 as an example. I have a bundle of 500. That's the largest bundle that I'm aware of that you can buy. And so we get a better cost at that rate. And then we have a 250 bundle, and then we have two 50-count bundles, giving us that 850. And incrementally, the smaller the bundle, the little bit more that you pay. I want to say there was like a $10 difference between the 500 and the 50. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it can be a substantial difference. And then if we were to go with this, and then a couple of years down the road, you decide, hey, I'd like to put 250 of these in play, we would then need to come back and retire this bundle of 250. But essentially, that $3,000 you spent on that, you're now paying again for the other. So that the advantage of deciding now is you wouldn't have to retire those licenses.
For those enhanced features, such as the soft phone that you can also access on your PC, to our standard PCs that we normally have on our desks, those would work? Like, we don't have to buy a bunch of new computers to?
No, it is integrated with the technology that we have.
Okay.
So it's just an application that would be loaded onto your desktop, and you can also.
I know
do
there's no
phone.
crystal ball to know how long this system will be relevant and be supported and so forth, but how old is our current system? When was it put in place? Anybody know?
I might need some help from Ken. I adopted this system.
2006.
2006.
So it's been in use 16 years. So we're saying hopefully we'll get 16 years out of this then. Which would be nice.
It
I
would
don't
be
want us to
nice.
adopt technology, I don't want us to buy technology that won't be
You're gonna need
used tomorrow.
You're gonna need a continual upgrade if you're wanting to.
And that's included in this quote here. It's just as far as version upgrades, feature upgrades, and those
Right,
things. We pay an annual maintenance to A&A now. It carries all the warranties on our hardware and, software upgrades and whatnot. So that's the software assurance portion of these quotes. So the top section is what we would pay, well, the whole thing is what you would pay initially, and then the software assurance would go into that recurring annual maintenance.
Which we currently do.
Which we already do. And with that said, the old system that we're retiring, whatever maintenance portion we're paying for that will come off. This will come on in its place. I assume there's some price differential. I did not get a figure from the vendor for that yet, because we're kind of doing this in the middle of our renewal cycle is in May, I believe. So we're kind of doing this mid-year. He said those prorated adjustments would occur at the renewal time.
Any hardware that goes out the door, is that trade-in? Is there anything that could be?
This in particular set of servers will probably just be straight to auction due to their age. They are older machines that actually had already been repurposed for this previously. The equipment that we would be utilizing within this would actually come from our clusters that we've been moving over to the VX Rail. So we would be reutilizing that equipment to
So
get
we're
us
not
back up to
buying
date.
any physical servers, this is all software
Virtual.
licensing and that
Virtual.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you're asking about the phones and that hardware that we're maintaining, if we have a phone go out, it's under warranty. We do keep some phones on hand. We essentially give out a loaner. We ship it back. If they're able to repair it, they do. If they can't, they give us a new phone.
The current new phones will work on this, is that?
Yes, we have asked that question, and they've assured us that the models that we've already invested in can seamlessly work with this product.
Okay.
So for today's purpose, I guess we just want to defer this, or do you
That's a
want to?
tough call, because we do need to get moving. You know, we've let this server get a little long in the tooth with the anticipation of migrating it onto the servers that we have on hand. We had to wait to take the servers off and put into the VX Rail environment before they came available to us to put the phone network on. So,
Okay, my question.
yes.
If we, one of these three options, we choose to decide on today, where's the money coming from?
Well, that's contingency. That,
I'm
Or
asking-
too early in the year, contingencies would be the
Contingency.
most, appropriate place at this time.
yes, I don't have funding for this. I was going to try to use some money left over in the phone department from this budget year, but because of the turnaround time on this, it's gonna fall inside of FY '23. And we don't, you know, this was an unplanned expense. The vendor had no idea that there was gonna be a licensing issue in moving this off, so there were no preparations for this.
So where do you guys think we should land out of these three options?
We're feeling like the 250 is more, I think 100, I mean, we've got 50 offices approximately, so you're talking about one elected official or one department head. They're going to have administrative staff that I think they're gonna want to utilize these features. So we kind of went with the VPN count, thinking these are people the departments have already authorized for remote work anyway, so that seemed like a good starting point. Just understand that if that grows, that's okay. We can, we'll just need to remove some, and those, by the way, don't have to be bought in bundles. The UCC licenses, I can buy 17, I can buy 23. They're not in bundles. They're the same cost. It's the old ones from the plain voicemail system, so to speak, that have to be retired in the bundles they're purchased. So I would say if we exceed $850, we buy smaller bundles in tens or singles or whatnot. It'll cost you a little more on the front end, but you're able to retire that in tandem with what you purchase in UCC licenses, if that makes sense. Okay. I would like to see us go ahead and move. We really need to. The server needs to be moved. Sadly, we're involved in trying to figure out the licensing, but I think 250 is a good place to start.
On the software assurance, because that's the, with the enhanced
Maintenance.
features, right? So I'm looking at, what, 110, $3 and $11. If you add that up, is that one license?
Which quote are you looking at?
I'm doing that 250 UC standard, 600 voicemail.
Okay.
And I look down to the bottom, if I want to see a price per unit, like the cost of one license.
Yes.
Is it that 110, 378, and 1124?
It is actually, so that is the unit cost normally, and then we get a Sourcewell discount cost.
Did the 6615, 227, 674.
Yes.
Okay, so a little over, what, $78
Give or
a
take.
person?
Yes, Commissioner.
That is for the system. The $66 that's for the system itself, I guess, the software. So the mailboxes, looking below that, it looks like it's $13.62 for your 600. I hate to use the word standard because it's the non-UCC. It's your regular mailbox. And then the 250 standard UCC licenses, the annual cost is $16.85.
Okay, I was trying to find out, for a person that's gonna get the enhanced features, how much is that individual license just for that one person, that one computer?
That is $99. If
Okay,
you
so
look
right
at
at
the
$100
upper
per
part
person.
of your quote there, on that first line item, first itemized, it shows the 250. If we look at the discounted rate, it comes in at 99. Now, with that
Okay, now is
said,
that just the voicemail? Because I'm not talking about the voicemail that we're replacing for a voicemail. I'm talking about on top of the voicemail,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
enhanced features.
yes,
Okay, per person, that's $99, or is that 66?
it is 99 for your initial purchase, and then
And I guess my question is for the court, then do we want to develop some type of policy? Because certainly we don't want to put an enhanced feature on every employee's computer if it's not necessary. Do we want to have IT look at a way to make sure we're putting that enhancement on a computer that it needs to, where it needs to be? 'Cause I know if you were me, I'd want one.
But, so how many VPN licenses were just issued?
so we've got, what, 300
All-
and some odd, we have vendors.
Correct.
utilizing
All
them
told,
too.
vendors and all, we have 312 accounts.
So wouldn't you kind of just treat this like that, where we send that email to the department head and elected official, and then you, like I sign off on it?
Yes, I think so.
Because, I mean, if the elected official wants it, he gets it
Really?
on the VPN.
On the VPN, yes, that is the way
That's
we
the way
have
I
done
see
it.
the elected official, but I mean,
And-
for his
and-
department, he
and-
can
and
just
to- I guess
say
to
he
some
wants it for
extent,
everybody in his
to some-
department?
But I don't think you would, I think, so we're not giving it to everybody we haven't given it to everybody in the departments. So if we're only giving out 200, 300,
Well, some of those are vendor-related accounts, so I think for the
There's probably
employees, it's about
about-
250.
Correct. There's,
okay.
but to your point, though, Commissioner, we could start with that list of people within the departments that have the VPN access. Send those back out to the departments, have them pick and choose who does and doesn't need to remain there for this purpose. And we
It's
could-
really just, y'all just let the elected officials and the department head manage that on their own, correct?
So we would have a pool of 250 licenses that the court, if you would agree to, make that purchase today. And then of that 250, we poll the offices, we come back, and then, I don't know if you decide each office gets this many, or,
Yeah, let's say you come back with 400. Let's just use that. Then
Right.
you're gonna bring that back to us, and us have
We'll
to make
need
a
to,
decision on.
and then we'll need to make some cuts at that point.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where policy
Okay.
comes in
and
place.
develop a policy that, how you want that to be utilized, because there is an additional expense
Right.
for those features, and you want to make sure that if it is allocated to someone, that they utilize
They're
it.
using it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Because
right,
you
y'all
hate to
feel
waste
like
a
we're on the same
license.
page, everybody? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I think we've established that you want to save money when you have an opportunity, but otherwise we need to move forward with our technology.
Okay.
All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
So I make a motion that we upgrade our phone system to option number 3 as presented by the IT staff.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under item L2B, discussion and/or actions regarding phone fax line transfers and installations for the 74th District Court at the courthouse and 474th District Court at Bill Oak Building. Lisa.
Yes, thank you. This request is, with the district courts being relocated and whatnot, 74th District Court will need to transfer their existing fax line to their new location, and then a new line will need to be put in at the old location for the incoming 474th District Court at the Bill Logue Center. The cost for these, there's a non-recurring installation cost of $101 per line, so that's per court. Then there would be an additional monthly recurring cost of $20.85, plus all the associated surcharges for the 474th District Court only. The service for the 74th District Court is already accounted for in the service they already have.
Okay, any questions?
So basically, we're paying for the new service that's coming into 474, and then the monthly recurring cost of 2085 for the no, we're paying for the.
474.
Because they're gonna keep the phone line out, fax out there, aren't they? They'll keep one out there for the new 474.
74th wants to keep the number they have, so we have to do a move. So we move
I see
that,
what you're
there's a
saying. Okay.
fee. So the
That's the reason.
old number
they wanna
comes in
keep
at the
their-
new location, and then but the lines are still of use, you know, they assign a new number, and
That's what
the work that the AT&T group has to do, those are their fees, so.
Recurring, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Move to approve L2B.
Second?
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving down to item M, additional items. M1 is approval of McLennan County holiday dates for 2023. The years in the notes are a little off in some areas, but the information in your packet is correct. I think the one decision for it is Christmas in 2023 falls on a Monday. We checked with the city of Waco. They are closing Friday, the 22nd and Monday, the 25th for the Christmas holiday. So that's really our, I believe our only decision is if we want to handle it similar to the city of Waco as we've done in the past, or if we wanted to look at something different.
So the question is, do you want a day for shopping before Christmas, or do you want a day after Christmas to play with your toys?
That's right.
And
That's the
cooking,
Two choices.
and cooking.
After?
No, we gotta cook before.
So for
I would
cooking
go
and
with the
shopping-
Friday and Monday.
Shopping and cooking is probably.
Yeah, I'll let you go shopping while I cook.
Yeah, okay, well, I don't know why I would shop on 22nd, I've got a couple more days. Okay, so, ready for somebody to make a motion.
Commissioner.
I would move that in the approval of the holiday dates for 2023, that we would establish the Christmas holiday as Friday and Monday, December the 22nd and December the 25th.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
All right, and M2 is adoption of various orders relative to FY 2023, and I'll just kind of run through those like we did with our annual contracts, if that's okay.
Thank you, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
M2A is order setting compensation of jurors, members of the grand jury, and grand jury bailiffs. There was a change here. Dollar amounts did not change. It was just changing the members of the grand jury definition to make it similar to that of the pettit jurors, and that was recommended by the district clerk's office. M2B is the order designating the day and location for regular special commissioners court meetings. M2C is order authorizing county engineer and or assistant county engineer to sign requisitions, exemption certificates, cooperative agreements for flood control structures, and state reimbursement forms. M2D is the order appointing county judge pro tem. It would be Commissioner Perry. M2E is the order setting pay rate for hourly rated personnel. This is a change from the past. Previously, it had been at $7.25 an hour unless those positions had been brought to court for an adjustment. This order would set that hourly pay at $15 an hour, and I believe there is still one that is paid above that amount, so that would not affect that person. But this would set our hourly pay at $15 an hour unless otherwise approved. M2F is order adopting the ad valorem tax exemption. This is on homestead and then also on those that are disabled and the 65 year and older. M2G is order adopting licenses and or permit fees. This is TABC and other fees. And that's the last one.
Okay, any questions?
M2F on the ad valorem tax exemptions, are those all maximums?
I believe they are, but we can double check with Randy, or Francis may know off the top of her head, but I believe we are
I
maxed
believe
out.
so as well, but we can
20% is, I
confirm
just
with
don't know
the
about
tax
the others.
office.
Okay, any other questions? What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve M2A through M2G, is that right?
Second?
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, dropping down to item M6, authorization of amendment to the McLennan County Employee Policy Guide. M6A is regarding section 7.05, Sheriff's Office Structured Pay Plan. Anna?
Yes, sir. I have a request to amend Chapter 7 of the Employee Policy Guide related to the step pay plan for the Sheriff's Office. This is an annual amendment that I bring forward, and it's just to update the step pay to apply the cost of living adjustment for the following fiscal year. So that's what's incorporated in this amendment.
Okay, any questions? Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M7 is regarding Texas Association of Counties Risk Management Pool Workers Compensation Program, authorization of 2023 workers' compensation coverage documents and worksheets. Anna?
Yes, this is a request to approve the questionnaire we'd like to submit to the Texas Association of County for continued coverage for calendar year 2023 for workers' compensation, and it includes an estimated payroll amount for calendar year 2023.
All right, any questions for Anna? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M8 is authorization of order approving the temporary closure of a portion of Keys Creek Drive, a portion of Rock Creek Road, and all of Bulldog Run in Precinct 4. Commissioner Perry?
Yes, it's just the Bosqueville Homecoming Parade. Obviously, there will be law enforcement there as well for traffic purposes.
Okay.
I request that we approve M8.
All right, is there a second?
Second?
Motion made second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
M9 is discussion and or action regarding dental plan rate increase. Anna?
Yes, sir. I have here a request for consideration of increasing the dental premiums or dental contributions by 3%. So we had Randy McGraw review the latest claim information for this plan year to make a projection for plan year 2023 for dental, and he did find he's recommending a 3% rate increase for the monthly contribution for our two dental plans. That's basic dental and enhanced dental. It amounts to, for each plan option, employee only through employee family, about a 79-cent increase monthly for employee only, up to through the enhanced dental option. If you have employee family, it's a $2.56 increase for that option. And the reason he's suggesting or recommending this increase is so that we meet our recommended fund balance for this plan. And this increase would assist us in doing that for the projected cost or expenses in the coming 2023 year.
Questions?
I have a statement. You know, I think we saw when these funds are young, when we're in the beginning stages of them, it's best that we, you know, sometimes you have to kick in a little to keep up.
Right.
And so when they're young, so you know, I totally support the 3% increase.
Agreed.
Is that a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we take our Hub Consultants advice and increase the rate by 3% on the self-funded dental plans.
Second.
All right, I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Thank you.
Under item N, Americans with Disabilities Compliance Project, N1 is authorization of professional service invoice with CPNY. This is their ADA study report for the month of August, and it totals $6,684.50.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
O2 is regarding the Area B demolition project, professional civil engineering services proposal with Walker Partners. And this is an invoice totaling $700 for their services through July 26, and this is related to the Paul Tyson demo.
Right. All right. I'll make a motion we approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Judge, that just leaves for action items, the HR matter for the IT director and also just our ARPA discussion.
Okay. All right, so I've got a 2:00 meeting. We can persevere and keep moving, and we have to go into executive session briefly to talk about the HR deal for scheduling. Isn't that correct, Dustin?
Yes, sir.
And then we have the numbers on ARPA budget, and so we could either keep going or we could come back here at 1:00.
My
But-
preference would be to finish,
Okay, what, anybody else?
but I'll do what everybody else.
You gotta go. I gotta go now.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to go anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's up to y'all, whatever. I'll come back.
I have a 2:00 too. I have a 2:00.
I need to be gone by 2.
Okay,
Well, y'all, if it's just a scheduling thing, just let me know
okay, all right.
when you decide to hold the interviews. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make sure everybody can, whatever time everybody can do this. Okay, I guess let's go to the HR matter pertaining to the information technology selection of prospects for that job.
So Judge, if you'd like to, that would be executive session 551.074.
Okay, let's go into executive session 551.004. It is 11:49.
Recording in progress.
Okay, let's call the meeting back into session. All right, Justin.
All right, we can go back to item E3A. This is under Human Resources. It's Information Technology, Discussion and Interaction regarding replacement of director, including but not limited to replacement process, job description changes or updates, and related matters. Anna?
Thank you. I am requesting authorization to move forward with scheduling interviews with the 4 finalists for the IT director position.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to move forward?
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all want to move on to the ARPA discussion now?
Let's take a stab at trying to get it, if we could.
All right, so this will be under K1, and I will share my screen. Give me just 1 second.
I got a K1 right here. Anybody need a break or anything?
I'm good. I think we can kick this.
Kick it down the road.
All right, and I invite Francis and Mike or anyone from the court just to add anything in as we step through, but just kind of a real general overview. These items in green are the items that we've brought to court and the court has approved, and we've entered into agreements with those. And as you'll see, we've actually approved and check has been issued for most of these projects. Still waiting on a few cleanups with the volunteer fire departments, and Trinity Sports had recently submitted, which will likely be their final reimbursement request. Stepping down into that next group, these in the light blue, these are ones that we've had presentations from and discussed in court at least to some depth. They were Creative Waco, and that was aid to the nonprofit arts, lost revenue in the amount of $262,750. Hippodrome was for lost revenue in the amount of $402,117.50. And then also a request from the McLennan County Investment Fund for $50,000 that would go to their permanent loan fund. This next group in yellow, these are the requests when we put out our deadline for the end of March. We'd received these requests. At that time, we gathered them. We sent them out to the court as we received them. We had stopped sending things to BKD at that time, just not want to incur an additional cost, because at that time the court had shifted the attention to the water infrastructure and the arsenic issues. So thought now would be a good time, as we've kind of moved down the line on those, to bring these back to the court to see if there is interest in any of these. If there is, we will reach out and work with BKD and Francis and Mike on eligibility. And if there's not, we can bump those down to the bottom of the list. At the bottom are the items in white, are the ones we had reviewed previously, and there was no interest in continuing with those. So I'll kind of step through these just very quickly. The 911 Emergency Assistance District had submitted a request for an emergency response radio system. This would go at their headquarters, and it would be able to be utilized if another public safety answering point was down due to a disaster, a tornado or whatever. Somebody could relocate to this facility that is F5 tornado rated. It's for $137,000. This is one that we had BKD review. And they do feel it fits its eligibility, and I think our team agrees with that as well. The Isaiah 117 house, they were working up a request. I know Mike had discussions with them. It was really a startup. They had no lost revenue. Mike, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, it's a startup. So they didn't have any lost revenue from COVID. And I, asked for more information, and I never got a call back. So.
Okay, that's a no then.
Okay. Let me just kind of work on this as we go. Lee Lockwood Library and Museum, they were requesting funds for lost revenue in the amount of $109,595. That was sent to BKD, and I need to go back through my notes, but I know we had a a detailed list from Lee Lockwood of the events that were missed and the fundraising opportunities. So I feel like BKD was comfortable with that, but that is one we can certainly follow back on with BKD if the court wants us to proceed. The next one is Old Springfield Road. This is a water request that I know Commissioner Miller is very familiar with, and it's one that Tom Ray is reviewing with LAN. And so just wanted to make sure it was back on everybody's radar as well.
Okay.
And I don't think LAN thought it would come under this guideline. It'd be something that we would look at outside of this or
Okay.
with
Why
Bellmead.
did he say that?
Do you recall?
Because I haven't even talked to him. I thought he was gonna call me, or
Yeah,
I haven't had a conversation with him.
right. Well, I was meeting with him on another matter and
Mhm.
yeah, we brought
Is
it.
it because it's not fixing an existing?
I don't know. We probably need to get him in here.
Yeah.
Let him.
Yeah, we do, because what's happening to Old Springfield Road is between Chapel Road and between Kendall Lane, there's no water access for the people who live on that road. And I don't understand in 2022 how people can't have running water coming into their home and they live in the urban area. I can understand.
Whose water system is it?
Water system is it?
I think, I know Waco supplies Kendall.
Well, if you
I'm
added
not-
if you added the line, who would supply? I mean, who would be required?
And see,
to
that's
supply?
what Lamb was supposed to look into. He was supposed to give us I thought he was gonna look into the issue and give us all of the background information. I submitted the request from, the individuals who lived on that road. And I know there's one gentleman who, paid the city of Waco himself. And so a line came across his, property, came to right at 170,000, I think he said, and then the city kind of quoted them that. But I thought we were gonna look into it and be able to bring some more details back to the court.
And he will. We'll get him back.
Let's get him to do that,
Talk
yeah.
specifically about that one.
Put it underwater.
And I think it is the city of Waco, but I'm not sure if that's water they're selling to Bellmead or if they actually own the line. But I know Wiley was sitting in that meeting, we were talking, we were really working on a regional water plan. And so it may be that we would have to access it. It'd either be City of Waco or Bellmead. So, okay, Dustin, keep going.
Yes, sir. And we'll reach out. I know, I thought Tom was going to be joining us today, but we will make sure it's part of a.
Also, I think a question of cost. I forget how much it was, but it was an ungodly amount per linear foot to run water line. And I don't know if he was gonna look and see if there was a lesser cost option as far as the line that still met Waco's requirements or what, but it was a significant cost.
Well, I know the last quote that they gave the individuals on that property, it was under 200,000. I don't know what it's gonna be when he researches it and comes back with an amount for us.
But we all agree that we need him back in, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely need to.
Yeah, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
not off the table. We just need more info.
No, yeah,
Right.
I think it's something that needs to be done if we can do it.
And just as a reminder, we had packaged all these requests up and put them on the ARPA drive, and I'd emailed that out to everybody at the end of last week. So if anybody has trouble accessing these requests, just let us know too. So moving on to United Way had requested funds for lost revenue in the amount of $357,976. CASA had requested funds for lost revenue in the amount of $71,405. Community Cancer Association, same, requested funds for lost revenue in the amount of $38,000. The ARC was requesting funds in the amount of $484,715 for capital expenditures. CareNet had 3 requests. The first was 2.7 million for the expansion of their current facility. Next was a $31,000 request for a van for client transportation. And then finally, from CareNet, a request for $12,000 for air purification at their facility. And then the last kind of pending request from prior was volunteer fire departments looking at radios for them. We had submitted the question to our previous contact at BKD. He did not feel they were eligible. We circled back during the budget discussions this summer as we were talking about radios, and BKD, as we remember, has transitioned over to Forvis, is the name of the company, and we have a new representative there. And after her review, she felt that radios for the volunteer fire departments would be eligible. So that's something that's now.
She even sent us a couple of quotes out of the guidelines.
Yes.
One thing we look at on this stuff is whether any of these places have received federal funds or other funds, because I've recently dealt with the county that had paid out funds for losses that had already been paid for from a different federal grant and had to get stuff back. And so I think some of these we may need to ask whether they've received any other.
So the volunteer fire departments, where would they receive? When?
They wouldn't have received anything.
Okay, so let's talk about.
I'm talking about the ARC, CareNet, Haiti Cancer Association. What
I'll go ahead and throw out now the 2.7.
United Way.
To expand the facility at CareNet. I don't know that I can get behind expanding facilities.
I can't either.
I agree with Mike that on these, and it could be just purely me. I do need to go back and read the information that Dustin has out in the file, the electronic file, and look at it more. And I agree with you on the 2.7.
So, and then Mike, you're saying the others, we need to just verify that they have not received any other federal funding.
Yeah, get more information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do have a request that I would ask that we take action on today, just because it serves the entire county purpose, and that's the radio.
Oh, yeah, for the volunteer fire department?
No, well, for the 911 center. So the building that was built, right now, it houses, let's just say a tornado came through and wiped out 2 of our dispatches, the police departments. They can be up and running there instantly. But right now, they can only work off of handheld radios. There is not a radio
Console.
and not a console. And this is just putting a console in place, so there's not any confusion or issues. There's a little bit of pushback that 911 should pay for this, but we don't want to get into the radio buying business because that would have that's not what we're about.
Right.
So we're asking, since it's a county-wide purpose, that it would be approved so they can go ahead and move forward and have a console put in there.
And what number is that?
That's the first one in the yellow.
So it would be
137,000.
What does that no right there mean?
They're not a 501c.
not a 501c3. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But they have,
Well, they're a government entity.
Yeah, they're a district.
They're essentially, they are a nonprofit because they are a government entity. They're actually a subdivision of the state.
Well, we don't want to be in the radio business, but when it comes to the volunteer fire department, we're gonna have to be, and this is the way that we're gonna end up funding it anyway. I would say that it's at least as high a priority as the 911, so I'd say both of those.
And I agree with you on that one, Judge. I was just waiting to see a figure out beside it, but I agree with you that we need to. We have horrible communication issues right now when you get out into the.
Terrible.
As you guys know.
They're terrible. Well, now,
No, we have to have a number, yeah.
Right.
what don't we have numbers on? What don't we have numbers on?
The volunteer fire department
So
radio
I
request.
have the quote they sent this summer. I could pull that real quick.
But I would be in favor that quote is for total number of radios. And maybe we ought to consider allocating a amount for so many radios per department.
Well, they've already done that themselves.
So in other words, we don't have, if somebody's got 30 volunteers, they're not asking for 30 radios for their department.
These are for radios to be installed in the actual responding trucks.
Okay, so these are not handhelds.
These are not handhelds.
Okay,
These are,
They're not, there's a name for that.
they'll
I
be
can't
mounted
think
in
what
the,
it's
in
called.
the
They're mounted.
units that are responding.
Yeah, they're
Yes,
mounted radios in their vehicles.
So although that number could change depending on, what department got how many, their quote this summer was, 354,000 for the equipment, and then there was it's installation and service charges of about 50. So their estimate had been about 400,000.
For
just to,
radios?
Goodness.
That's all equipment, right? That's
There
not
was-
just radios, is it?
No, they're 1-800s. They're high dollar.
Yeah, they're high dollars. You're talking about a handheld.
And again, this is an old
a handheld
quote from the
800
summer and all that, but just,
is probably 15.
We
I know,
can,
we got a handheld.
yeah, well, these aren't handhelds. These,
Oh, these are.
They're mounted.
let's do this, because I agree with Judge. We're gonna pay for it an hour later. So I'm agreeable to moving forward. We just need to see a new number from them. I'm pretty sure they were saying this was one per department, because they didn't want to get carried away with some departments saying, I
Yeah.
need 3, I need 1, I need.
Yeah.
So
and this,
let's
their
pin that down.
explanation, it was 159 Kenwood mobile radios plus install.
Kenwood.
And it was
100
right over
They're Kenwood.
159 of them?
Or vehicles.
159?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
159 vehicles?
No, radios. Radios.
And again, this was,
But I mean, if each
old
vehicle's
request,
getting
but just
one
to give you
radio,
an
that's
idea.
159 vehicles.
Okay, we need more specific,
Okay.
finite information, but I do agree with the 911 request and the volunteer fire department
I
request.
agree.
Okay, so we'll try to nail those two down, Dustin, and we've kind of jumped around on you.
Sorry, Dustin.
We took the meeting away from you, and I know you're trying to go down through this thing and try to find out what we want to do. and what we
I
don't
need
wanna
to
do,
read
so
more.
we can get what we don't want to do off this list. Is that correct?
Do you think
I
that
don't know,
the
Judge.
volunteer fire departments got mixed up on the radios, and some of them were submitting for handheld and some of them were submitting for vehicle?
I don't think so in talking to them.
The Elizabeth and the president of the Volunteer Fire Association in the county we just need to get with them. They've got a very clear plan. We just probably need to have them in to present.
In
Okay.
regard to the list, Judge, I'm not ready today to give you a thumbs up or thumbs down on those that we're looking at in beige, other than the ones we've already addressed. I need to read more. I understand we have taken the 2.7 off, Dustin, but on the other ones, I just haven't read the information that you put in our electronic folder.
Okay, and I think that the intent was to get it back in front of y'all and to see if there were some ones that we wanted to cut today, and then also if there's any others on the list that we want to advance on to a BKD/Forvis review, we can do that, and if not, we will have it that's back on the agenda next time, and we can bring I guess beneficiary agreements forward for the emergency assistance district, then also for those radios, and have those on as action items on the October 4th agenda.
Okay, and so, Isaiah, I think that's a no, unless somebody argues with me. And then the Lee Lockwood Library, I don't know what they do for the public. Like where some of these, like lost revenue of a nonprofit that does a bunch for the public, maybe I just don't know. But if it's, I would put them in the no category.
That's fine.
And then,
We know that, the old Hippodrome, that we took them off.
yeah, they're off. Also, Creative Waco, what's the thoughts on that? That's a huge amount. We do some funding for them already. It's $262,000.
But you went back up to the top.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure, see,
Okay.
because it still has yes. I'm trying to get it to keep it a yes or take it off as a no.
I would,
And that yes there was just eligibility wise, if
Okay.
it did fit under ARPA.
Yeah,
No,
so I'm trying to get it off the list.
I would have a hard time with that because you're talking about bricks and sticks and water and things that people need to breathe, eat, drink, and then, you know, arts funding, which I know people will yell about that, but that doesn't really compare to some of these other requests.
That's why I'm saying no.
Okay.
It's not part of the primary focus when we started out.
Yeah.
Considered
Okay.
okay.
Yep. I'm trying to find other no's in here. And then, of course, it's already mentioned, the CareNet 2.7's out.
Mm-hmm.
And then on MCC, have we notified them that that's not a consideration any longer?
So Judge, they know their initial request was not, they were still looking for alternatives. There was a proposed law enforcement training center that at the time BKD struggled with it as well on the eligibility just due to some of the components with it. But if it's something that the court would like for us to continue working with MCC and for Forvis to find a worthy project, we can continue to do so.
Well, so right now, we haven't been offered a proposal that we could use out of this funding. I mean, we haven't, so
There's nothing new since the last.
Part
time
of
we
the concern is you have entities that have very specific needs and have listed them out and identified them. And then you have an entity it's like trying to find a project to get money.
yeah.
And there's no, you know, it's not a set in stone. It's like we're looking for something to spend money on.
Well, like that.
So it's a no unless we get another request.
And which one is that, MCC?
MCC, yeah.
Okay.
What about that X-ray system?
There's,
And Commissioner, these down here were the ones we had previously presented that were moved to the no category.
Okay, those are already no's then.
Yes, sir.
All right, good.
okay, in
Thank you.
white. Okay, in white, they're already no.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna remove them off the list.
Yeah, and I'll kind of just keep bumping them down. That way we have
Okay.
that comprehensive look, but I'll put a note on them that it's a no from the court.
And just a quick pitch, the African American Chamber's request, EOAC provides that very same service.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm.
So if anyone has any questions, we do have that very same service.
I'm noticing there's so many in the TAN that don't have a checkoff by BKD as being eligible projects. So are we saying yes to it and hoping that they're eligible? Are we putting the cart before the
We
horse?
didn't send them.
No, ma'am, we stopped when we turned our attention to water infrastructure and put the
Okay.
deadline out. We stopped sending things to BKD, just not wanting to incur any additional cost.
Okay.
And now that we're back to the point where we've made headway on the water side, that we wanted to bring these back forward. And so if there's specific ones in that tan color that, as y'all review, that we want to send on to BKD for eligibility, that's our next step.
Well, I guess my last question would be, or not last question, but next question was, how much available ARPA funding do we have discretionary that we haven't already committed?
Well, it's funny you asked that. So we can jump over to our spreadsheet and just kind of as my normal caveat here, these are numbers our office has worked on through court discussions and Francis has reviewed it, but it's not a to the dollar and cent like Francis would do, but just kind of just a real general overview again. We started with 49.8 million. Of that, 10 million was the lost revenue portion. We've identified 500,000 we can use on the Paul Tyson demo. We had 45,000 that went to the non-501c3 volunteer fire departments, and then that leaves 9.4 million or so for the downtown jail.
Okay.
So if we max out there, that left 39.8 million for county and non-county projects. So we have 24.6 million plugged in this non-county line. That includes everything we have approved to date, all the way from MHMR through the 8.4 million for the Central Texas Industrial Training Center. In that 24.6 million, we have our $10 million water bucket setting over here. So we have our $30,000 to Tawakona Creek to that study. We have 4.4 million set aside for arsenic issues, and that leaves us right at 5.5 million for other water related requests. So if we kind of z'd that line out, that drops us down to 15 million available for county projects. We plugged in 5 million for HVAC upgrades. That includes air purification that we've been doing, includes upgrades to the courthouse, like the hallways at the courthouse are not air conditioned. This would allow us to be able to do that. We've also plugged in just very round numbers, 5 million for HVAC and miscellaneous work we can do at the downtown jail. We know the bulk of that work is not eligible under ARPA, but we think we can carve out areas such as the HVAC, bringing in fresh air, air purification, and then things like antimicrobial surfaces in the downtown jail that we could utilize some of these funds on as well. Then we have 355,000 that we've spent so far on the base rental, cleaning, PPE, and other administrative costs that were eligible under ARPA. And then we plugged in 2.5 million for low water crossing and culvert. So if we spent all those, if we spend every bit on the water projects, every bit here on these county projects for the HVAC upgrades in the downtown jail and the low water crossings, that would leave 2.2 million of ARPA funds available.
2.2. That's if nothing comes back to us.
Right.
And we potentially committed right at 500,000 a day, right?
Something like that.
Between radios and the 911.
Possibly so.
There are a lot of good projects, excellent projects on here. They're wonderful organizations. But if you don't have air, if you don't have water, those are essential to me.
Yeah.
And I just really can't move ahead with a lot of these projects until we really get a final on our water projects, and that includes Old Springfield Road.
I don't have a problem with that. Dustin,
Yes, sir.
on that sheet, that spreadsheet, there's a 45, 325 volunteer fire departments, non-501c3, then you drop down, there's another 44, 317 volunteer fire departments, 501c3. What were those two differences?
So it had to do with how you can fund nonprofits under ARPA. A 501c3 could be funded as a,
I see what you're saying.
the non-501c3s had to come from our lost revenue portion.
Gotcha.
I can't remember.
Okay,
Three or
so the
four.
total that we gave to the volunteer fire departments was closer to 90,000 then?
And it was actually that version you're looking at had missed a couple of the recent ones we paid. It's actually now about 67,000 plus 45,000.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there a need to make final decisions today, past what we've already carved out?
I think final decisions on the nose would be helpful.
On which ones?
On the ones we just said no on.
Well, if said no, that's fine. If we've already said no.
And the one you're questioning, Commissioner Miller, is we're not saying no, we're saying we're gonna look.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess the purpose of my statement was all of the water projects that we have on our spreadsheet, and including this one, for me, they kind of take precedent, as great as these projects are, but they take precedent over these
Lost revenue
nonprofit requests.
Right, but the nonprofit request is not gonna get into that water bucket.
Right. I guess I'm looking at the 2.2 million that Dustin's talking about. If we should need more money out of that bucket down there, I would prefer they go, if needed, to water projects. So I guess I'm saying, I don't necessarily say no as much as they are just not taking a priority with me. I know, I see he wrinkles right in here. I know as much as they just get pushed down on the priority list until we can really come back. And I know Dustin is saying, you know, we've been talking about water for a lot, but we still haven't got to generators, we haven't got to the equipment, we haven't got to some of the requests that TCEQ is putting on some of those companies, and I know you all have been meeting. But I guess if you push us to it, I could say some no's today.
I'm not gonna be pushing anybody.
I agree that water, you know, and we've made water our priority. We want to continue to do that. And I don't see not including all the water needs. So we need some more information from Tom about what he found out about Old Springfield. So we know what we're talking about. If we're talking about 10 million, well, we're out of luck. If we're talking about 100,000, then yeah, then
So-
we need to consider.
Could we agree today then, just to kind of categorize things, that the United Way, CASA, Community Cancer Association, the ARC, and the CareNet requests, they get pigeonholed for right now.
Pushed out.
If we have funds left after we take care of our water-related issues and our emergency-related issues, then we'll come back in and reconsider.
We can put them under MCC on the spreadsheet. I agree with that.
Dustin, does that make sense? That we just
Yes,
pigeonhole
sir.
them until we know what?
Right.
Yes, sir, and that's good. They check in, some of them, you know, every couple of weeks to see where we are, and then I can give them clear direction that the court is continuing to focus on water, and that they will kind of just remain in a pending status for future review.
Water and emergency management issues.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's fine.
And there's not a real reason to vote no on anything. Just the fact that you didn't pick them is a no. Are you
want it to
going to
be
vote
clear.
on the radios today or leave that to another?
We gotta wait till I think everybody is
I think we said
in
yes.
favor. We just need to see a price.
We need to see.
Okay.
Yeah, detail, because you're saying 150 something vehicles, but we only have, what, 30 volunteer fire departments, and if it's one vehicle per volunteer fire department, that's be 30.
They've got it broke out, and as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, that was part of what they shared that day we met with them.
Yeah,
just
okay, but I
don't
can't remember what
it
it's been.
was. But they have it broke out.
Yeah.
Okay, now the 911 though is broken down and seems to be pretty clear. Do you want to do that today?
I think Dustin was saying he'll bring a subrecipient agreement.
On that one.
On the next.
On the backup console.
And I think if y'all want to direct, if we want to take action and we want to say we want to move forward and direct staff to, you know, to work on that and to work with Mike and Francis and BKD, we can do that. That way we do have an action item tied to it. It's totally up to y'all.
I think we can do that.
Right, make it in form of motion.
And I do think it's important to identify the no's and put them in the no category, because we're getting calls on things that we're not gonna do. And so I'm all for
Okay.
supporting the no.
Keeps from muddying the waters up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we've been
But
sitting
do
out.
we, right now though, do we need a separate motion, Dustin, for the backup console?
I think that would be totally fine, that if we wanted to move forward with that, and directing us to work and bring an agreement back on the October 4th agenda, that would be great.
Okay, but can we we can't do the other radios till we kind of know a little bit more.
We can just
Right,
direct staff to
right.
work.
All we'd be doing is the
But the
911.
staff can work on figuring it out. Yeah, but I do think that's a priority.
Judge, with regards to the no's, should we just go ahead and just, right now, move down the line? And
Yes.
again, they're still, the reason they're calling is they want to know something.
Yeah,
And if it looks like it's a no, we need to go ahead and.
when we know it's a no, it's rude for us not to go ahead and tell them that, I think. So, you know, y'all correct me if I'm misunderstood, but the items that are up there in the, well, I've got another sheet I'm looking at, the one. All right, Creative Waco, I don't see support for it. Hippodrome, we've many times said we don't support that.
No.
The Isaiah House, We didn't get enough information.
So no.
Lee Lockwood, I don't know, what do y'all think about that? I don't see, they're not like a United Way or others, I don't know what all they do. I
Right.
think they do a lot of good things, but,
I would say a no.
yeah, and then, let's see. Then we get down to CareNet, we're not interested in that expansion deal, 2.7, so that's a no.
I would also probably put their air purification system at their facility as that.
As a no.
Okay, does everybody feel that way? All right. And that's it, isn't it?
I think the only one, the McLennan County Investment Fund, if that's one the court wanted to consider, it was $50,000 to go into their permanent loan fund.
I support that because it's taking federal money, using it for local purpose. And it's run by, it's very well run with a very small staff.
And they've come and presented solid facts
Yeah,
about what they've done.
they,
Money back in the community.
I support that.
That's fine, Joe.
Well, can we get some more information on them to be able to create a beneficiary agreement? Because I have no idea.
Yes, Mike, I've got info on them.
yeah, we got good information.
And so just kind of a quick summary. So the darker green is everything we previously approved down to Meals on Wheels. The investment fund, the 911 emergency district, and the volunteer fire departments are all ones that we will work towards bringing beneficiary agreements forward.
Right.
These starting, Old Springfield Road is a water request, so it'll be handled differently, of course. But United Way, CASA, Community Cancer Association, ARC, and then the one request from CareNet, we've got them in the tan color, and they will just be moved to a pending status now as we continue to work on water and emergency communication type discussions. And then everything below MCC is still just showed pull with no action at this time because we do not have a eligible project. And then the remainder are ones that have been marked as no, and that will not be considered for funding.
One of the things that Mike talking, go ahead, Mike.
No, I just said, right, I just was acknowledging that was what I understood.
In taking off, because United Way, we know what they do, CASA, court-appointed advocates for children in the foster care system, and the Community Cancer Association. I could understand they're viable organizations, and I could see how they were impacted by COVID. So we've taken off their requests for funding for lost revenue. I can't see buying a car, keeping the purchase of a car on there. So I couldn't support the van for CareNet. And we're not gonna help, lost revenue for like CASA.
Well, take it down to white too.
What's commissioners think?
I was looking for them to have a lost revenue piece, and they don't.
Yeah, I could do that.
I know they did, but I don't know.
Right, but that's what's kind of throwing me with their requests is what we truly were looking to discuss and talk about. They didn't request that.
Yeah. Okay.
And we might need to go back and actually read back through their request because they might have identified lost revenue similar to the way the others did.
But put them in the category of need to go back and read what their request is, because I know they had, I say I know, I'm almost positive they had lost revenue, but don't know what it was.
And I'm open to that.
Yeah.
What were their three? They had the van.
Van.
Air
Air purification,
Yeah,
expansion.
And then expand the facility.
I couldn't think of, I kept forgetting what that was. That's fine.
Okay.
And on United Way, CASA, and some of the bigger ones, to make sure what other funding they receive.
Right.
Right.
What's HOTRS? What's
That's like, it's the health district. It's, FAR like COVID response, hot rag. They were the Heart of Texas, RAC, what's that?
The Regional Advisory Council.
Regional Advisory Committee. So we met with them during the COVID deal. And, but I don't see that as anything we support. They've got all kind of state support and everything.
What's the ARC? I know it. When you tell me, I'm gonna go, oh, yeah.
Which one?
What's the ARC? What's that, Dustin? The ARC.
Association for Retarded Citizens.
Okay,
That's right, that just went to ARC.
okay.
So do you want us just to, there will be an opportunity to get the information from the volunteer fire departments. And then do you want us just to work on beneficiary agreements for the investment fund, 911, and the volunteer fire departments, but leave holes for the information?
Yeah, we need to start on that. That's what Commissioner Perry was
Yes.
saying.
That's fine.
All right, and then we'll have,
So there isn't any need to take any action today other than you directed us to go ahead and start work on those.
There's,
unless you need action, Dustin, for the nose.
I don't, I mean, it's the court's preference. We've kind of just viewed this as like a living document, and we adjust and move in and out, so.
Well, so if we don't send them information that it's a no, then they're sitting there.
Right, and we can do that. We can, I mean, if the court wants to make a motion that we're not going to consider those that we've marked in white on this spreadsheet, and then we can go ahead and just generate a letter or an email to those entities. We can do that.
That's what I'd like to do.
How about a motion that we approve the list as presented or updated today, which would include all of that information?
Well,
Two
because there's pending information, there's pending recipients.
Say it again?
Because we've got pending recipients on there too.
So the three that are in green now, we'll approve those when the sub-recipient agreements come in. We've already agreed to move to that
Right.
level, to that point.
That's right.
Then the others, we're waiting on information till we see whether they receive federal funds or not.
Right.
Then take a vote on the nose, and in the motion, send some form of documentation to them that they understand it's been denied.
Right.
And then the only thing we have to come back is worry about the water systems, and then the nonprofits that we're waiting to hear whether or not they.
Yeah. I make a motion that the no's that we identified, be notified. Thanks for your request, sorry we can't provide that. If there's a reason, category, put that in there and get that out.
That's a motion.
Yeah.
Second?
That motion is second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Do we need a motion to request that Dustin and Mike start preparing sub-recipient, or is that necessary?
It wouldn't hurt to do that, so.
Can I make a motion that we have Dustin and Mike, our legal counsel, do a sub-recipient agreement for the McLennan County for the MACSIF request, for the 911 Emergency Assistant District request, and then also with the volunteer fire departments, find out the exact cost. I would like to see that. I don't see that we're gonna, but I would like to see that before we vote on the sub-recipient agreement.
I agree.
So at this time, I just make a motion for sub-recipient agreements from MACSIF and 911.
Second.
All right, have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Can we agree to take Old Springfield Road off of this spreadsheet and put them on the water project spreadsheet?
It would make sense to me to, it be a water project. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just hadn't plugged it in here since we hadn't decided on an amount or funding, but I can list it on here.
Yeah, we certainly need more information. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, anything else? All right. Did we vote on that last?
No, sir.
Yes, we just voted on your motion.
Oh, we did, yes.
Okay.
It was a very tired.
Yeah,
aye.
it is, and hungry.
Yes.
Angry. Okay, Dustin, anything else?
Well, Judge, I know we skipped around a lot, so if you don't mind checking with Reagan and Mercedes just to make sure we covered all the action items.
We did. Thumbs up. We're good. All right, if there's not anything else to come before court today, we stand adjourned.